The following is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
Welcome, everyone. We are back for Total Football Talk. Happy Labor Day holiday weekend extended, as we are here to discuss many things on today's special one-year anniversary edition of Total Football Talk. Free agent wide receiver Michael Thomas suspended one game for violation of NFL rules. How much will this ruling affect his chances of signing with the contender or any team in the league this season? 49ers left tackle Trent Williams not happy. Threats of missing games are real. Do you believe both sides can come together to get this contract resolved, or will this play out like his exit from Washington? NFL rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall shot in chest during suspected armed robbery attempt. How much will this be affecting him this season and beyond? All those questions and more on this one-year anniversary edition of Total Football Talk. Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk, episode 53, the one-year anniversary edition. I am Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EPs, my man, Cole Johnson.
Sorry. I had it running under my head. I'm sorry. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to you, my man. And man, happy anniversary, brother. I still remember when we talked about doing this, and now 52 episodes in the can, and wow, it's actually a thing.
Before I respond to that, before you did that, I didn't know if you were doing the Randy Orton or if it was like a rendition of Swan Lake. Like, I didn't know what was happening out here in these streams. It was great. It was a great way to get us started, and I love it.
Swan Lake. I have to remember that. Oh my gosh.
But yes, this is definitely great to be back here with you, my man. You know, a lot of people hate Mondays because it's the start of a work week, but for me, I love it because it's a great start to the work week. You know, it gets everything started off right. We get to talk about football. Right. We get to hang out for a couple of hours, and like you said, 52 editions were in the books before we even got to today. You know, last week when I made the promo for the shorts and the stories and everything, I kind of accidentally put the 1-year anniversary special on then, but it's all good. It's less work I had to put into this week when I had to go back and edit that graphic because, hey, we were already ready to rock and roll.
There you go.
But today we got many things to talk about. NFL is finally back. You know, we also have this big news to discuss in the Gridiron Scoop as well. And we start shifting things around to get ready for NFL action that starts this Thursday. We have a Friday game, Friday Night Lights, but in a different country to talk about, as well as the majority of the football that's happening throughout Sunday in the afternoon into the evening, and in the one game next Monday night to preview as well during a 2-minute drill. But here with the opening drive, we've got something pretty special to talk about, as we kind of alluded to in the intro. And let's go ahead and take it over to that and see what we got in store for the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips right. at 42, 989. On two, on two, on two. Ready? Ready.
And here with the opening drive, today, normally we would be talking about the recap from the previous week
Mhm.
in football. Starting this Friday, we have a spinoff show called Total Football Talk Extra, in which Ryan McCarthy will be coming in during this time to help us continue to cover CFL. Because throughout this summer, we've been talking about UFL in the spring into the summer, and then CFL, and that stuff has been keeping you and I busy throughout that time frame to where we can have 52 consecutive weeks of episodes coming into this show
Right.
today for episode 53. First of all, shout out to Ryan McCarthy. Thank
Mhm.
you, for doing what he did the past couple weeks and for his availability on Friday to keep this going.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, with today, that's something that we could talk about along with other things when it comes to this opening drive because, I felt like doing something a little bit different for today because,
Okay.
we're transitioning away from spring and summer football
Mhm.
into NFL football. And with this being only a few days away from it starting, I figured we could acknowledge the 1 year run of TFT and talk about, the top moments that we look back on and say, if we were to have a top five,
Oh,
what would
gosh.
they be? And,
Mm.
you know, I know it's tough to get you to rattle off five off the top of your head, but
Mhm.
I'll at least say one.
Okay.
And, one of my favorite moments was the birth of Tyrone Alize McDummy.
Well,
That
yeah.
was that's like top of the
Mhm.
charts. And
Yeah.
then you going, Tam, and the same day when it was born, like that right there is definitely one of my favorites. If you were to look back throughout the past year of this show, what
Mm.
would you say your top moments would be and why?
Let me see. Oh, well, definitely Tyrone Alize McDummy. Uh, the name itself is great. The fact that we have a shared dis disdain for Cowboys fans, not all, but the ridiculous ones. Uh, and we see it encapsulated with this guy, and then you give him a name that I did not expect, and it was not rehearsed. And you did talk about it beforehand with me. I was like, oh, on air, this is the name that he creates. I'm like, all right, cool. And then just in the flow, I was like, I just thought of Teddy's Jam by Guy, but I was like, oh, well, why not? I'll just slap it, Tam, and I'll be doggone. And within our circle, everybody was like, oh yeah, we got to hear that again. I'm like, Tyrone Ellen's able done. You got to hear it. You got to hear him. Really? Okay, fine. So definitely that's one of the top moments for sure. Heck, last week was a good one. When and I love you, Ryan. When Ryan said that rocks like the rock like strudel.
Yeah. And I was like, no, Kurt Angle loves
No, no,
Strudel. And then you reiterated that
yeah.
and then threw extra layers on top of it. Yes.
No. Rock loves the ladies that love strudel. That was a funny moment. Uh,
It
Let me.
does say pie in his name, though.
Yes. It does say pie. Uh,
Stupid.
yeah. Oh gosh. And yeah, and that was off of you stressing a person who's a namesake of mine. I'm like, great. In the CFL, Cole Speaker. I'm like, really? I'm like, all right.
I'm just saying, it
Um,
still says pie in his name.
and then another top moment would probably be the fact that we come up with Tam. And then in the UFL, there's a player that's named Alize Mack, and you had the nerve to put forth every single thing he did every single week. And I mean, it was like this dude barely plays. He may play 2 plays a game. And this is highlighted in the slate every week. I'm like, oh Lord. I'm like, why this Alize Mack? The fact the guy's name is Alize Mack is one thing. The fact you just simply had your way with him every single week the UFL played was even funnier than another. So yeah, I give you kudos for that. Riding the Alize wave. Let me see. I'm trying to think. What's another one that I can think of right off my top of my head? Um, The episode I did with Kyle, I did not I did not have any type of experience working with him until uh until there was the two of us, and I found that I was like sort of walked in the person that we walked in as two people that knew of each other, and then we walked out of that pretty good friends and colleagues, and we enjoyed the time that we spent. And look, shout out to you, Mr. Nash. You were one cool, calm customer and one professional journalist, and I appreciate you, man. And obviously, I mean, I've done so many episodes with you, and and I treasure them all. But it was a good moment to actually roll with somebody that I did not have much chemistry with, if at all, and then it flowed almost as smooth as with us. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I found someone else I can want to do content with. Nice. So, yeah, that's a highlight for me. And then, of course, whenever whenever I just get that itch and that mood to just want to shake my head at somebody who is ridiculous, you know, and it just goes something like this, when oh yeah, girl, I'll talking how we just enjoyed this 1 year anniversary. Yeah. Yeah, don't you lay a press on nail on me, girl. Set. Yeah. Give me a towel, girl. Towel. Yeah. It's just reminiscing with the boys, just talking about the anniversary that we had and how much I've been a part of it. When I go Clarence Carter on the network, just stroking. Stroking. Just stroking. Yeah, I just love it. I just love tea.
My favorite part of that was when you would reach over to get the towel. You would reach over and put
it. So those are my favorite moments, and I think I loved it when I did it the first time, and you really were into it. I was like, oh, I got something. Okay, I can pull this out of my bag every now and then. Good. All right.
Yes, that was actually going to be one of the ones that I brought up. I would say you had a great set of your top five.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really differ so much. I would definitely say Tam, would be in there. It's hard to rank what number in numerical order with there, and I would just say they're definitely in the top.
Yeah.
I would say when I went into the explanation of the 3 Ps would be, Cam Sutton was definitely another good one.
That was a great segment. Yeah.
That along with the first time I said the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and the look on your face then when that happened. So Tam, the 3 Ps, Saskatchewan Rough Riders. I can't really say the one with Kyle because that was like an unexpected curveball where I was sick that morning, and Kyle
right.
After hitting him up, that was when we were still doing it live. Were we doing it live at 8 o'clock in the morning, or was it 9? I can't remember. I think it was 9.
I think it was 9. Yeah, I think it was 9.
Yeah, it was 8 your time, 9 my time, and
it was 9. Mm-hmm.
It was like 5:30, maybe 6 in the morning when I got a hold of Kyle, and he said that he was available, and it was perfect. And I hit you up. I was like, Kyle's coming through. I'm sick, going back to bed, and it worked out great.
Yeah, it did work great. Sorry you were sick, but yeah, it did work out great.
I appreciate it, and even through. I would say probably another top moment is the fact that, through that time I was sick and through the time that you had to take a little hiatus to get some other things straight, outside of all this.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the fact that, through guests, like not just Kyle, because Kyle came through for me,
right.
Ryan,
Ryan
Cool McCain, awesome. Rob Johnson, those 4 individuals.
Man, I wish I had a chance to work with Rob. Yeah.
I mean, we could definitely make it work in time, But between those four individuals stepping up and stepping in during times where we needed them to come through to help us out, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the main reason why this show had 52 consecutive weeks,
Oh yeah.
through last week coming into the 1-year anniversary. So shout out to those four people who have been guests on this show to help keep this going, because I could have been on here talking by myself, but it wouldn't be as entertaining for not only the viewer, but for me, and for you, during the time that Kyle came through, because it's a lot easier to sit back and talk about something you're passionate about when you have those around you that are in the same mindset of you and talking the same thing. So
Right.
I would say for that would be, I guess we're on number 3. The next one I would say that I would have to bring up, and I was looking at this on my phone. Let me see. Let me get this back up. Would be the first introduction of dumpster pelicans. Would be that was it. That I hadn't really talked about dumpster pelicans that much prior to Total Football Talk. I might have dropped a dime or two on the In or Out Sports Debate, but the first time I ever dropped dumpster pelican, and you coming up with that graphic is as simple as it is, of just a landfill with a bunch of pelicans. And then you've got the floating dumpster that goes down the road that's on fire. Between those two, and then the next one I would have to say would be the first time you ever clicked the Beating the Dead Horse presentation. I was like, where'd that come from? That'd be another top moment of mine on this show.
Oh man.
Along with, wait, what is this other one? Because I'd marked a couple of them on there. Bunker Stayfield. That too. The birth of Bunker Stayfield, I would say, would be
the early
one.
episodes. Yeah. And it was almost disappointing because Baker made a really good accounting of himself last year. And so unfortunately you had a chance to use it less. But yeah, that was a good nickname, and you prided yourself on having the opportunity to say it. I'm like, why? Bunker Stayfield, he's bunkering it up. I was like, why is he actually enjoying saying this?
Well, kind of like when I lit up the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That and Bunker Stayfield are very similar. Once I lit
a fire in the room. Yeah.
Around, Bunker Stayfield, when I lit him up, he started turning things around. So maybe the more I lighted fire into the rear end of these teams or individual players, it might actually start doing positive things, because the Blue Mobbers were not looking good at all. In the CFL, like horrible.
No,
and now we're talking about the fact that they could be 500.
That's crazy. As horrible as their season started, they actually now or they actually now are in the playoffs is actually a thing for them. Kudos to them for the last month and a half of actually getting their chemistry together. But
and I misspoke. I said it could be 500 as of this past weekend. Right. They are 500.
They are. Yeah.
They are now 6-6, tied with the BC Lions in the West Division. So we've had a lot that we've experienced and talked about in this past year. We've talked about terrible teams within 3 leagues of football, between the NFL, the CFL, the UFL. We discussed the debut season of when the UFL was, became what it was, being merged of the XFL and the USFL together to make the lazily named UFL that just took the S out. It's kind of like when WWF turned into WWE and they said get the F out. It's more like get the S out.
S out.
Therefore, in this case, they literally did just remove the S and kept the name as it was. So between our top 5, between talking about 3 top leagues in professional football, when it comes to the future, how often should the tribe expect to see Tam in this 2024 NFL season, Cole?
Well, they'll be seeing it a few times, considering we have these types of fans that will creep up every time the season begins and all throughout the season. This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation. Now, all of you have witnessed the fans that says, "We them boys," and "We're America's team." And every time we get around now, or every time the Cowboys get eliminated from the playoffs, they always say, we're going to Super Bowl next year, right? We're going to Super Bowl this year, right? We hear all of that. So, yes, we'll be seeing Tam often.
We'll be seeing him so often, we'll get creative with clicking the button.
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
Not only do we have Cole's ingenious creation of what he just clicked with the Beating a Dead Horse and merging it with the Cowboys, we could still rewind the clock and take it back here.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Followed by, I rest my case.
I've rest my case. Oh my gosh. And yeah, an honorable mention to the top 5 things of the past year. Whenever you would come with something like this.
It's time for breaking news.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, why?
Last week
I'm
when
like,
you were like the cocaine and fuel breaking news.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, why?
Man.
I was like, why does it have to be like a like if it's a guy who's studying journalism, he's trying to be an anchor, but his fraternity ways just can't elude him, and on air he's that way. I was like, this is how Drew sounds when he does this every time he goes to the breaking news. Hilarious.
And if we were going to throw another additional one in there too, I would say almost every time we would click this button, and especially when we gear up for the 2024 season, and hopefully get to mention the Cowboys suffering this a lot. Had a lot of great moments on this show.
that will bring joy to just about all of TFT tribe, no question, and definitely to us.
Speaking of the tribe, they've been dropping some dimes here in the comments. Sick Dicky saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good afternoon, Sick.
Yeah, good afternoon to you, Sick. It's dinner time.
Almost,
I guess.
Almost evening, yeah.
Yeah, for them over there. What in the almond butter and cranberry jelly? This is an interesting combination right there. There's Sick. Is he also? I clicked on this earlier, but
yeah.
Yes, thank you. There's Sick for the happy anniversary TFT, as well as our guy who we previously mentioned, Ryan McCarthy, saying happy TFT anniversary. Cole is doing his best Randy Orton pose. Well done. Needs a little work.
Oh Lord, thank you, Ryan. Lord,
yes, definitely. Thank you, Ryan. Again, in my comparison, I felt like it was pretty close to Swan Lake, but that'll be another reel we can make out of this show and this episode today. Trust and believe there was some Barry White, Isaac Hayes, Marvin Gaye, and a whole lot of more playing in the background when Cole was going into those grabbing the towel segs. I always love it when you go into those characters and do the voiceovers with that. But I'm telling you, what really puts the icing on the cake is when you're reaching over for the towel and bringing it over. All the times that I would lose it on the other side, it was heightened when you would grab the towel. Six says the deep, soulful ballads of Cole Johnson are brought to you by Sleazy Salons. No Manipetties, just hands and feet done.
Sleazy Salons, huh? Okay. That's another thing. Oh, 6 ads. Oh my.
Yes, they never get
Never end.
tiresome.
Never do tiresome, never end.
Never. Every time he hops in here, it's like
Let me talk to you.
dropping
Yeah.
dimes.
Mm-hmm.
So
No question.
when it comes to TFT, one more thing, just embracing and acknowledging the new time and the spinoff show that we have that will actually be debuting this Friday. We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to get the graphic together or finish it. Just with you and I talked about it in the green room beforehand.
Mhm.
Your schedule was wild last week.
Yeah.
Mine's been wild for like several months.
Yeah. For a minute.
And just to be able to work together to adjust the times, over that time where you had some work things, I had some work things, scheduling different things where we had to work around, and we still each and every week pumped out an episode to make that happen, considering your schedule and mine and the loads on our plates is
Mhm.
really remarkable.
Yeah.
And that's what also makes this whole journey as special as it is. And today, kind of reverting back to a morning time, as when we first started, we had an early
Yeah.
morning time. Then we
Mhm.
went to then we went to a
Afternoon.
later morning time.
Mhm.
Then we went to an even later
Later
afternoon time.
time.
And now we are back to the morning time on Monday, where we
Mhm.
be, previewing week one this upcoming week. But going forward, we'll be previewing the previous week, reviewing the upcoming week, as well as previewing a game that's usually that same night on Monday. So there's a little bit of different takes we'll have and a little bit of adjustments that we'll have. But from
Obviously.
TFT Tribe, to those of you watching this live or syndicated, we greatly appreciate you all taking your
Thank you.
time and
Yeah.
look forward to keeping this thing kicking. But
No
with
question.
all that word vomit I just threw out there, I would say my point that I was getting to was we have a spinoff show, and it's going to be called TFT Extra, and it's going to be premiering this Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and it'll be about an hour. Not that long of a show, but in case there is some type of update we need to get out there, we could jump on it, go live, and do it whenever. But as far as for the upcoming tenure of it, it'll mainly be on Fridays throughout the Canadian Football League season. And, myself will be hosting it, primarily bringing in Ryan McCarthy on Fridays to talk CFL. If Cole can join us, that would be awesome. If he gets a chance to join us, sometimes the door is always open. But this is a way for us to continue to talk CFL, or if there's other breaking news or any additional type of news we can bring from the realm of football, but also allows Cole and I to get back to the roots of the show, where we're talking primarily NFL. And with there being 32 teams in the league, can you imagine how long this show would be if we were talking NFL and CFL in the same exact show? We'd be doing this for like 4 or 5 hours at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, at least for the first 2 months, we had to actually touch on it. We had to touch on probably upwards of 20 games being played. Yeah, and combined the CFL and NFL. Yeah,
especially when we got the first month of the NFL season, all 16 teams are playing. There's no bias.
right.
That's where the two leagues differ. Is week one into CFL, you got a team on a bye.
Some team has a bye. Yeah,
And the way they make up for it is you'll have teams in the latter part of the week. By the time October gets here, like the first or second week of October, you'll start having like 2 and 3 and 4 teams on buys, in the NFL. So it starts to balance out. But yeah, we'll have to get a little bit creative to keep it still at around 2 to 2.5 hour show during the times with the NFL ramping up, I would say. But thank you to the CFL, UFL for having enough content to keep us going. Thank you to the TFT Tribe, to all of you who have showed up, whether it's live or syndicated, each and every week and check this out. And for the dimes you've been dropping in the chat, along with our dedicated returning dedicated and returning, not guests, but fans. Sorry, I'm still waking up. Like Sick Diggy, Ryan McCarthy, Mickey Delaney, those of you out there that come here consistently, each and every week. And also those of you from our Brothers and Broadcast team as well. thank you who jump in and throw your 2 cents in as well each time you come and check this show out.
Yeah, totally. Thank you all. It is because of a lot of you that this platform exists. Obviously, the hands of both Drew's and mine are heavily into the product, but yeah, if not for an audience, this platform would cease to exist. So we thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Your DNA, as far as the fans, is just as much a part of this project as Cole's or myself. Thank
That's
you all
right.
very much, especially when we get to click this button and talk about Dumpster Pelicans. And we'll be able to talk about them and more here in a little bit once we get to the 2-minute drill. With all that being said, we've gone through the first rendition of the show, the first segment being the opening drive. We're going to take it to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we still have plenty more to go over with you. We'll see you here in just a couple minutes.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Hey!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy and now begins a future one of matrimony, or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan, join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids from the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, your source for hard-hitting gridiron action. We are back to discuss the NFL rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall shot during suspected armed robbery attempt recently, as well as the fact that we are here for the 1-year anniversary special edition show. Today, myself and the man, myth, and the legend, Kyle Johnson, we are back today. And, just went through the opening drive. It is now time to discuss the Gridiron Scoop. And here with the Gridiron Scoop, we have free agent wide receiver Michael Thomas suspended 1 game for violation of NFL rules. How much will this ruling affect his chances of signing with a contender or any team in the league this season?
Not much. I don't think this will affect him all that much. What affects him more is the downturn of his career ever since he has had this injury that seems to have been a mainstay for the last couple of years. Uh, I mean, he was considered one of the top 5 wide receivers when he was early in the career with the Saints, and of course, it was at the time when Drew Brees was QB, and then seemingly once he retired, Michael Thomas's itch to play seemed to dwindle just as greatly. And I think the lack of presence on the field seems to have more of an impact to me, I think, than the fact that he decided to attempt to skirt one of the NFL rules, but got his hand slapped. Now, it will still affect him negatively still, but I don't think it'll affect him as much as the absence of his presence on the field has.
I agree with that, wholeheartedly as well. I mean, ever since his 2019 year, where he was the offensive player of the year, you know, did what he did out there on the field, and the fact that he sustained the injury, but right before that, Drew Brees retired.
Mhm.
2020, that season, there was a lot of stuff going on outside of football, of course, with COVID
Right.
and everything.
Mhm.
But then, of course, that was the year. It was Drew Brees' last season that we saw, the end of his career. And without that stable leadership over there for New Orleans, as far as the quarterback position, you've
Mhm.
seen others like Taysom Hill, who was the gadget player, Michael Thomas, and other players within that Saints offense just kind of fizzle out of control, if that's the best way to put it in this point, because there's no consistency over there on offense. You thought it might be Jameis as the starting quarterback, didn't quite work out. They bring in Derek Carr. It's just been a dumpster fire rotation of
Mhm.
quarterbacks over there that have definitely resembled dumpster pelican-esque players in that point in time. So when you look at it for what it is,
Mhm.
and not only that, but he sustained the injury, like you said, back in 2021. It's been a few years now. He hasn't been able to get back to his top form, and now he's a free agent. Especially when you look at the Saints, it doesn't look like they're bringing him back. So,
Mhm.
you know, I think that not only the 1 game suspension is going to affect him. I don't think that's going to be more so the case. I'm going to agree with you on the fact that the injury history over the past few years is going to be number one that affects him. But 2, his age, the fact that he's in his
Yeah.
30s now, he's 31 in
Yes.
this season. It throws a big curveball in that, especially when you look at the last few years of his 20s. Didn't look all that great because of injury. So
Mhm.
I think the past few years, age and attribution, all that stuff is going to play a factor into if he gets signed at all this season and where.
Mhm. Yeah, that age is another really good point. Yeah. I mean, we're still seeing TO uh, lobbying to NFL teams. Look, you see me. I still run still run sub 4.5 40s. I can still play on this team. Dude is be 51 in October, and he is still wanting to be part of the league. Saying, "Look, I know I got the yellow jacket. I can still play. 50 years old. I still can burn these cornerbacks and these safeties." The NFL is like, nah, man, that age. Mm-mm. And he's 50. I think we're starting to see that too, and that's a really good point you made with Thomas. Like, no, brother, you're on the wrong side of 30. I don't know if we're going to take the flyer out on you. And you're seeing a lot of teams say that.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Michael Thomas. This could be the beginning of the end. If he doesn't get signed anywhere this year, I see him retiring during the offseason.
Same.
That's very, very
Mhm.
likely what could happen when it comes to him and his career in the game of football. Now looking at some comments we got in here. Looks like Ike's in the house. Says,
Ike.
yo,
What's up, Ike?
along with what up, homies, and what up, Diggy, talking to Sick Diggy out here in these streams, along with Saints should bring back Archie.
Well, heck, I mean, Archie, even today, probably could be no worse than Derek Carr now. So, look, yeah.
So, I wonder if that would be the rendition of this.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, I think that's what the Saints brass needs to hear. Get somebody who actually has some talented QB in, and not try to get a stopgap measure or a Band-Aid. Yeah, you're not gonna have a Drew Brees 2.0 situation happen anytime soon.
Yeah, and Ike, if they bring back Archie, he's like almost 70, if not 70 at this point, or no, in his 70s
He's
probably.
probably in his 70s now. Yeah.
Yeah, like one hit, he'd be dead. No, let's not bring back Archie. That would be a total
Surprise, motherfucker.
It absolutely would if that was the case and they brought back Archie Manning to be quarterback. Sick Diggy says, my advice to T.O., stay retired, transition into another aspect in the game, such as a receiving coach, fight the urge. Every player needs to plan ahead and consider their lives after the game.
And the NFL it's funny you say that, Sick. I think the NFL is trying to coax players into, especially NFL, trying to coax their players into thinking that way, thinking of life after the sport in the midst of them playing. So that is some sound advice. And I think with T.O., I think what he misses is that rush. Unfortunately, I think I'm not saying that he isn't unintelligent, not saying that he is incapable of doing anything else. Not saying it on this, I'm not saying on that level whatsoever. I'm saying it from the level of he associates himself most as an athlete. And here he is 50 and he still wants to put on the pads and still wants to prove that he can run the curls and the slants and run across the middle and try to run goals. He still has that itch, and it's and he is testing himself against those who are probably half his age, saying, well, I can still run as fast as these guys can. But the transition away from the gridiron is necessary, and some take to it well, like Peyton Manning definitely takes to it well. And then there's others who don't. And unfortunately, T.O. falls in the category of ones who just simply don't. They just have that identity tied to being not necessarily a football player, but an athlete.
Absolutely. I mean, the sad thing is he might be more productive now for the 49ers than his son is.
Oh. I forgot his son is on the 49ers. Oh, that's cool.
And he broke something. It was his arm or his wrist or something. Like he's not out for the season, but he's out for a little bit. But the fact that your pops could be more productive than you right now.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
Nobody cares. That's why he's not getting signed. So, T.O., it is time to take Sick Dicky's advice, I believe, and transition into a new role and stop thinking about football. It's time to, even though you have hung it up previously and you have a Hall of Fame jacket, it's time to just stop talking about it. So, yeah. Sick says, agreed, Cole. The thrill of the rush is like a high. You see this with athletes of other sports.
Yeah. So that's why when I say with T.O., I know it's not a vacuum, because that happens. And with him, he stops short of having it being a cautionary tale of this isn't really where you should head, but it's almost getting there. And yeah, I just wish these players understand how wonderful they are and how valued they are. Even T.O., how valued they are, and try to find life away from the gridiron. Maybe And maybe life in the gridiron is fine, but it's as a coach, or it's as a scout, or it's as an analyst, something. But he still wants to basically put on the helmet. Them days are long gone. And that's not an indictment against him. That's just it. People don't want a 50-year-old guy out there.
He's absolutely right. And, even he says, I've seen former soccer players make better transitions after retirement, such coaching, establishing an academy, media pundits, working in other aspects of football clubs' front office.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what probably maybe you've heard him is not saying that this is all his doing, but he may have burned a few bridges in media and with and with some franchises to where they won't think of him in that light. But it's hard to argue. He's one of the best wide receivers we have seen in this time, in this era, and probably one of the best ever. I mean, the dude still thinks that he will still parade around with a hoodie that says GOAT on it. So he believes that.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with T.O., in the future. But as far as discussions of him playing football again, he definitely needs to let those subside when it comes to those discussions. Now, when we get to the next topic here in the Gridiron Scoop, we've got another 49ers topic here when it comes to that. 49ers left tackle Trent Williams not happy. Threats of missing games are real. Do you believe both sides can come together to get this contract resolved, or will this play out like his exit from Washington?
Yes, I think it will play out possibly for both. However, I think both sides are a little too stubborn right now to have it work out. Reason why I'm saying that is the hype on Trent Williams, unless I have missed seeing anything or anybody else, is that he right now at this moment is the best left tackle in the game. So you have that, but he's the fourth highest paid left tackle. Now, is he hurting for money? No, not really. But I think he wants to be compensated correctly, and I think the 49ers want to compensate him as much as they can, but of course they have an eye toward trying to re-sign Brock Purdy in the future and not sinking their organization in doing so, and not having this mass exodus of players, which that might still exist when it is time for Purdy to re-up. And then, of course, there is the matter you mentioned earlier with Michael Thomas. The same thing is true, even more so with Mr. Williams, and that's age. I mean, he's 36 now. So, there's more of the career behind him than in front of him. But I think if they can come with the right type of deal, with the right type of time along with it, I think both sides can be happy. I think Trent can understand that he is valued, but he knows that his time is almost over just playing in the league. So, with him, I think he wants to have the right salary number. With the 49ers, I think they want to have the right year amount, or the right amount extrapolated over time to where it's not to where they have number 71 have them take a huge cap hit, especially when Brock Purdy gets signed. So I think it's just a matter of aligning the X's and O's of the negotiation correctly. But I think it will, and I don't think this is a situation like it was with Washington. Unfortunately, with that one, it was a simple case of Trent saying, "Look, I'm damaged. I'm not feeling good out here." But the organization say, "No, you're good. Go out and play." And so, having him feel devalued as a player with that organization, that pretty much necessitated him to say, "I want out." I don't see that here with the 49ers. I just see the length of time and the right number being the hiccups for this negotiation.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when it comes to the 49ers, the preseason drama that they have with Christian McCaffrey and the calf, dealing with that injury, Trent Williams and this holdout, and then Brandon Ayuk in the trade demands and where they're currently sitting with that. This with Trent Williams just adds another layer to the situation. I mean, it's just it takes me back to that time in 2018 to 2019 when they were having the issues with Trent Williams in Washington over the contract dispute. More so at that point, it was he wanted to be traded, not so much as a contract dispute. He wanted to be let go because of, like you had talked about, the medical staff over there in Washington. He had issues with them, had issues with management in itself, and ownership as well. So the trifecta of all that going on in Washington at that time, along with the fact he wanted to play for a new team, this time, overall, even though he's quote unquote not happy, he is, I believe, happy with the team overall, just not with what he's getting compensated with. So when you weigh those factors in there, when it comes to money, of course, it definitely can affect one's psyche when it comes to going to work and getting underpaid and in that mindset, being undervalued in that aspect. So putting all that together, I can see why he's not happy. That's why I agree with you on the fact of it's not like Shades of Washington all over again.
No.
I do see them working out this deal and getting it done because you're already more than likely going to lose Ayuk, if not during this season, but at some point during this next offseason, because with the amount of drama that's been circling around that, unless he balls out this year and then gets paid by the 49ers at some point before the end of the year, which I don't believe they're going to do. If they haven't worked out a contract by now, they're still behind the scenes working out a trade because it doesn't make any sense to keep him after all the drama that circled around. Trent Williams is not in that same discussion. Will he hold out and potentially miss some games? I can see it happen. I can see it happen this upcoming Monday when they play the Jets. But if they play this upcoming Monday and they lose to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, which we'll talk about more about the preview of that in the 2-minute drill here in a little bit. But if they lose to the Jets this Monday night at home,
the pressure to sign him will be much, much greater.
Yes, especially with this being a home game. So if the 49ers lose this upcoming Monday, I would not be surprised by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, that we have news that Trent Williams has been re-signed and the holdout is over. So that's my prediction right now. If they go into this game Monday night, Trent Williams is still not re-signed, or they haven't figured out the whole contract dispute at that point. I wouldn't say re-signed because he's still under contract. But if the contract dispute isn't figured out by Monday and he doesn't play, my bet is if they lose, he will be back within the next 72 hours. Because they will not be able to deal with that going forward without him.
Right. Slight addendum, and this might make it a little more difficult to re-sign Trent Williams. Ayuk and the 49ers, they agreed to a 4-year, $120 million contract extension. So
they did.
Yeah, they agreed to it. Yeah, a few days ago. So,
oh wow, I missed that.
But my thing was, and I remember talking about this with Snowman. I said, I think they'll resign, but I think it's a case of Ayuk wanting Justin Jefferson money. Justin Jefferson is the richest wide receiver in the game right now. He has the best contract in the game for wide receivers. And so he wanted that Justin Jefferson money. He figured that, well, the 49ers, they'd probably be pinching pennies because he knows that they're trying to re-sign Brock Purdy down the line. So it's like, no, some team is going to want me. Some team's going to want me for that number. And the 49ers were strong enough to say, look, we got your number right here. Here's what you can sign for right now. Now, you can sign this here. You can test the waters out and see if someone else will sign you. And then and I said 3 months later, Ayuk comes back to the negotiate table. And he's basically like, dude, right here.
Surprise, motherfucker.
You can see John Lynch grinning. Welcome back to 49ers family, Brandon. Yeah. So yeah. He didn't get the number he wanted, but he got broken up a good amount of cheddar.
Yeah, he deserves it for the contributions he's been given to the team over the past few years. And
Yes.
speaking of contributions, Darrell Owens in the house dropping dimes with Trent Williams is
Darrell.
extremely valuable. Get him in there.
Well, no question, Darrell. Both of us agree with you. To me, I think he is the linchpin to that running attack. But like I said, it's just a matter of the number, and I think what is not discussed as much, number definitely, but I think the length of contract, I think that is probably another hang up. And I probably think that might be a bigger hang up than the number.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I remember covering the previous, dispute that Trent Williams had with the team with Darrell back when he was with Washington and all that stuff with the medical staff several years ago. If there's anybody else that knows about this situation just as much, if not a little bit more in depth, it is our guy, Darrell Owens of the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie TV. Let's take it into the next part of the Gridiron Scoop. And our last discussion here for the Gridiron Scoop is the fact of something that just happened here very, very recently. The NFL rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall shot in chest during suspected armed robbery attempt. How much will this be affecting him this season and beyond there, Cole?
This can affect him mentally, both in this season and beyond. Physically, I don't think it will affect him as much. I mean, it might affect him some, but I doubt it will affect him a lot. I think if he can find his way to do the same functions on the field as he did before he got shot, unfortunately, I think the physical hurdle will be scaled quite easily. I think it'll be the mental and emotional toll that something like this will take. I mean, this was a robbery attempt on him. So there is no telling how long it will be for him to grasp. All right, so this thing happened to me, but I'm past this moment. It could be now even. I mean, he could be fine and he is not affected at all. It could be a few years. It could be the rest of his career. It could be the rest of his life. Who knows? But what we do know is that he will be affected. How would that not affect anybody? I don't care who you are. Someone wanted to rob something of you to the point where they wanted to attempt to kill you. That is a mental hurdle that is hard to scale in a snap of a finger. So I think he's going to take some time for him, I believe. But if he works at it, if the term I love, shadow work, if he does the shadow work, then I think he will be fine, and I think he will heal, and he'll be able to go on forward and contribute how he can to the 49ers.
Definitely was really sad to see that, with him. And we just talked about the 49ers in the previous topic with Trent Williams. They finally get Brandon Ayuk re-signed. You got the calf injury with Christian McCaffrey. And this takes me back to when the Commanders drafted Brian Robinson as the running back. And, he got shot, very similarly. Similar circumstances.
But I think the similar circumstances because he was robbed too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And and it's something that, wide receivers are used to catching balls in the chest, right? Mm-hmm. Which ironically, with Brian Robinson, he got shot in the leg, and running backs, they're primarily usage of their legs. Mm-hmm. So it's ironic that, in a very short period of time, just a couple of years of time, we're talking about, two players in their rookie year
before they even play their first regular season game of their rookie year.
It's similar time frames too. Mm-hmm. During preseason, just after preseason, in this case, heading into week 1, he's definitely not going to suit up this weekend. I mean, he's definitely not going to be there.
We're not going to see him next Monday night. We're not going to see him next Monday night. No.
But, by mid-year, I could expect to see him by then.
That's about right.
because it went through his chest, but it missed vital organs, which is definitely great news. But
Thank
the
you.
bullet
Thank you.
went through his chest and came out his back. So,
Mm.
he took a good shot,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there with that, and he's very, very lucky also to be at that age in early 20s. I mean, you've got superhuman healing strengths at that point in time.
Mhm.
I'm not too far removed from it. And, you could argue that even into my mid 30s, I had just a little bit of glimmer of that left when I had the TIA. Okay. Just a little bit of glimmer of that left for the healing power. That's what I'm going to go with. But if that happens in a few years when I'm in my 40s and I'm done, I have to say that was the last glimmer of the prime, we'll say, that I was able to bring out that lemon enough for. So I feel you there, Ricky. Except for you are in your early 20s. So
Yeah.
you definitely have a long way to go. But just as Legacy Maker Sports and Darrell Owens said here in this comment, prayers for
I
Ricky.
echo the same.
Absolutely prayers for Ricky.
Echo the same
Because
sentiments. Yes.
just grateful that we didn't have to report that someone is gone today from
Yeah.
because the reports from that just came out yesterday. So when I'm throwing the stuff together and looking at that, I'm like, nobody wants to talk about this. It's not like it's news based on the gridiron itself, but this does
Mhm.
affect how the outcome could be because it's another wide receiver option that they could have had next Monday night.
Right.
When you're talking about the fact that Brandon Ayuk hadn't really been around during training camp, preseason, or anything because of what was going on with him and the contract disputes, definitely was not in the building as much as he should have been. So there could be
Mhm.
some rust the first few weeks.
Mhm.
The T.O.'s son, who's supposed to be another wide receiver option, not there because he has a broken arm or broken hand or something. And then you have this. That's 3 wide receiver options that are affected within a very short period of time. This definitely does affect the team. Now, I'm with you on the fact that it's not going to, make him retire early.
No.
Or
No.
it's not going to force an early retirement. I don't think it's going to affect his future play beyond this season. I do think that it affects his production this year, of course, because we're
Mhm.
not going to see him week 1. It could potentially, rob him of his first half of his rookie year. More than likely, I don't think he was going to be in the running for it, but if he was going to have a breakout rookie year from week 1 on and potentially be the rookie of the year, this affects that. But going past the rookie year, I think he'll be okay. Those questions will definitely be answered in Washington by Brian Robinson this year, now that he's had extended time to shake it off. He had all of last season, and now this is year 2 past that, past being shot. This is his time to really make or break for himself. We're not in that conversation for Ricky Pearsall yet. However, I do think this definitely affects the overall production that he can give to the team in his rookie year. But I'm with you on the fact that beyond, I think we'll still get some decent production of him, but it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it from week 1 and beyond.
Oh, 100%. And I 100% agree with you that um his production would be affected. My thinking is I think his production was going to be minimal at best anyway this year, even if this did not happen. And that's not an indictment on him. That's just basically a testament to the depth of the wide receiver chart. So just from that standpoint alone, his contribution was going to be limited unless he was going to ball completely out. Now I doubt he will. And he won't get that, and he definitely won't get that time on the field because he'll just have to recover. So yeah.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how, like you said, how he recovers
Mhm.
and, what spark he can give to this 49ers offense, because like, Darrell says here, they still got to pay Purdy too. Where are they getting
Yeah.
all this money from?
That's what I'm saying, Terrell. The 49ers are negotiating with the players. I mean, starting with Bosa, then the Debo, then the Ayuk, and now with Trent Williams. The party line for them has been, we got to sign this kid to a big time contract. And you see these quarterbacks being signed for however much money. And there's quarterbacks like Dak Prescott who wants to sign a $60 million a year contract. So we have to conserve as much money as possible to re-sign number 13. So keep that in mind when you come to the negotiation table. We do believe that you are a worthy contributor to the 49ers, but we can't give you the type of money that we think that you're deserving or worth, because we won't be able to afford you or Purdy. So yeah, for the last couple of years at least, the 49ers have negotiated with Purdy in mind for the long term.
Absolutely. Hopefully they can get everything handled over there for some of the fair-weathered fans who love to root for the 49ers of San Francisco. And as always, subscribe now and never miss out on new content, whether you're watching this on Comey Media Incorporated or on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Thank you for tuning into Total Football Talk, episode 53. This is the 1-year anniversary special edition. We are here and live on September 2nd.
Yes, we are.
Well, if you're listening on the radio, it's September 3rd. But hey, we can chop that part out before we send it on over to the station. Everyone, we're going to go ahead and take it to our last commercial break before we start really breaking down the 2-minute drill and this upcoming week 1 in football. We'll see you here on the other side of that commercial break. Man, I dropped the ball. We're going to chop that out of there too. Y'all, we still got to do one more thing before we go to break. One of my favorite parts of the week, man. One of my favorite moments. Time to go to the dog of the week.
Total Football Talk.
Where my dogs at? I got one right here, my man Cole. We're here talking football. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take it to his dog of the week.
Well, I'll be remiss if and I already mentioned the dog. He probably hasn't suited up in a long time, but I had to give it up to him. The 49ers general manager, John Lynch. I had to give it up to him, considering that the scuttlebutt was Brandon Ayuk was going to be signing somewhere else. At a time, it was going to be with the Browns. At a time, it was going to be with the Steelers. But when I heard those two teams, my question was the same. Who's going to throw it to him? Yes, I know for the Browns, it is Deshaun Watson who is the starting quarterback for the team. And he's there, but right now you have Jameis Winston, who's the backup there. So I'm like, okay, so you're iffy in Cleveland-ish. You most certainly are iffy with Pittsburgh, because either it's going to be Justin Fields or the guy who is starting, Russell Wilson, who's going to be throwing the ball to Ayuk. And who's to say that he's going to get the touches there with those two teams as he would with the 49ers? Because as much as the 49ers do rely on the running game, the Steelers and the Browns need a running game, simply because their offense bogs down a little, and they pride themselves in their defense winning a lot of those games for them. So kudos to John Lynch for staying the course and saying, look, Brandon, we do believe that you are one of the best wide receivers in the league. We just are not going to pay you Justin Jefferson money, but it doesn't mean we don't think you are a Justin Jefferson worthy type of competitor. We do appreciate you. But this is the number. And again, this number is contingent on we got to sign number 13. We got to sign the guy who actually made you to be the prospect that is possible. One that other teams could take a flyer on. Sometimes we don't talk about the GMs doing their job in selling the team concept, and the player, saying, look, we value you as a player, but look, this team, we got to take care of it. And you like being in the Super Bowl every year, right? Or at least you like contending for it, correct? It felt good to be in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. It felt good to be in the Super Bowl last year, right? Well, if you want to break the bank here, more than likely one of those linchpin pieces will be gone because we won't be able to re-sign them. So it's great when you see GMs get the message of team, and yeah, as a player, you definitely matter. And when you see that in concert, all you can do is just tip your cap to him. And I gotta give John Lynch credit. The dude actually seems to have really good chops when it comes to being a GM.
I'm not going to dispute that at all. That's a great pick for your dog of the week. I go in a little bit of a different direction with mine, and based on what he had to do during the preseason to get his job, I'm going to go with a kicker for my dog of the week. And the reason why I'm doing it, because it's for a variety of reasons. We may never hear this guy's name again if he sucks during week 1 and gets cut. Okay.
Oh, no.
I'm going to have to go with Green Bay Packers rookie kicker Braden Narvison because for a variety of reasons. He shows at the camp and has to beat out 2 kickers, Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph, during the offseason. And ultimately, the Packers decided to go with neither of those previous options and go with Braden Narvison. You know, Carlson, who struggled last year as a rookie, keep in mind, they had a rookie kicker last year who was Carlson, and Joseph, who failed to convince the team brass that they were suitable for the gig. Carlson was waived during the 53-man cut process. Joseph was jettisoned the next day after the Packers snagged Narvison off waivers. Keep in mind, again, he was not even drafted. He was just signed and brought in. As last year's rocky road from Carlson, it's somewhat surprising that the Packers trust an undrafted rookie. Coach Matt LaFleur said that he believes the first-year player will nail his kicks. So when you put that in perspective and you think about the pressure that's on this rookie, I'm naming him the dog of the week because he was signed, came out of nowhere. Nobody knows who the expletive he is. And now we know who he is because it's the closest we've had to the name Brett Favre since 2007 with a Narv is Sin and Braden, another Brett Favre. And he's a kicker. And you have the pressure on you by your head coach to come in here and, quote, nail kicks, end quote. I didn't kick the button, but I used my fingers because I figured it would be a great description, and I did it yet 2 more times. Now, talking about Braden Narvison, the kicker. Never knew who the expletive he was before today when I did a little research earlier this morning to decide who my dog of the week was going to be on this Labor Day, considering that we have no NFL football to recap and we're just previewing it in this show. And we're not talking about CFL until Friday on TFT Extra. I didn't want to take away from the NFL show and go with the CFL pick that I normally would have done on this Monday. Instead, I wanted to focus on the ARV within the Packers organization, not the Favre, but the NARV is in, that being Braden Narvison. Don't let me down this upcoming week 1 there, kid.
Interesting. Well, of course, they wanted to get away from the kicker they did have last year. So, yeah, I can understand that. Hopefully it all works well. And for some reason, people are starting to just sniff the wave of saying that the Packers might actually be in the Super Bowl. So you always need to have one of those pieces to be there because he can affect you one way or another. And even though it's a kicker, it's good. And The Packers have been looking for one, and been looking one for a while, and now they've found one.
Hopefully is definitely the key word of this situation right here, because you go from rookie to rookie in back-to-back seasons at that position. Carlson let you down, especially during your postseason run last year. We'll have to see how things pan out between now and next week when we are back and discussing what happened in that game. Now we will officially see you guys after this second commercial break.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated, creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the Evening,
this Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern,
exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $ D Willie 87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 11:05 a.m. Eastern, 10:05 a.m. Central, on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers, right side, commanders. Where my soldiers, left side,
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, your source for hard-hitting gridiron action. Cole Johnson and myself, sorry, I had a little tickle in the throat. That's why I was sounding a little off there for a second. We are back again for the 1-year anniversary special edition of Total Football Talk. And also a little correction at some point, not today or tomorrow, but might need a little bit of help from Cole, because the Commander's Gridiron Report is still going to be on Tuesdays, but it's going to be at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time instead of 11:05 p.m. Eastern Time, so that way I don't die.
You're moving it, you permanently moving it back.
Moving it up. So it'll be, because it was 11:05 like in the commercial, it's going to be 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, same day. But that way, because now, you know how the shift in my work schedule is. We're doing this on Monday morning. I go to work. If I try to get up at 10 o'clock or so and do that show at 11, I'm going to die. So if I push it back to 1, get up at 12, do the show, everything works out. So that right there for you guys is an update for the Commander's Gridiron Report, which will be returning next Tuesday to recap week 1 of the NFL action within that team and preview week 2 and to continue moving forward as we adjust to different schedules and different things out here. So since we just had that commercial break, just wanted to let you guys know who are watching right now as we are live or syndicated, that is the previous and new update that I shared last night on the public service announcement for Sertoba Media, we're giving the updates on times and days for projects, so that way we can get everything rocking and rolling here for the future for this. But with that being said, it's now time to get to something that we haven't gotten to for several months. We have had the segment, but not in this way. Let's take it to the featured attraction. And here for the featured attractions, we're going to talk NFL Week 1 preview. And first of all, we like to use this segment to discuss like the hyped up games for the week. And we have 3 really good choices for this week. Starting off with Thursday's 8:20 p.m. kickoff between the Baltimore Ravens, who are traveling to Kansas City to take on the reigning defending back-to-back Super Bowl champion Chiefs. When it comes to this game right here, Cole, what type of offense are we going to get from the Ravens based on the moves they made this offseason, the new additions, but also the returns of the players that they've had in previous years?
Okay, I think what we're going to see the Ravens want to execute coming into Arrowhead. I think they want to establish the fact that they could be physical with Derrick Henry. I think they want to run east. They want to run north and south. They want to establish that early. I think they need to. I think they have the game plan to want to weaken that Chiefs front, the Chiefs defensive front, and then when you have the punishment take effect, then it's going to be a lot harder to get the athleticism that, of course, Lamar Jackson brings. And I really do believe that Lamar himself wants to actually prove that if you slide 8 in the box, he can beat you over the top. I really believe that's what he wants to do. He now has a healthy Mark Andrews, and you had Zay Flowers, who ended up becoming the #1 wide receiver for the team. And of course, they drafted as well. So I think that is what the game plan is. I think that's the offense that I think we're going to see if things work correctly for the Ravens. I think they want to establish hitting you in the mouth early, and then they want to beat you over the top.
I like it. When you look back to the previous 5 matchups, the Chiefs are 4-1 in those previous matchups. Now you have Derrick Henry for the Ravens, who will help flip the script for Baltimore. And the Chiefs march to a possible 3-peat start in style if they win this game. Look back to last year, Kansas City lost the Week 1 Thursday night football opener after winning 4 consecutive games against the Ravens, and it was defined by dropped passes. When you look back on that Week 1 matchup that we reviewed last year in our second episode of this show, my opinion, this game is going to be cleaner. Kansas City continues to one-up Baltimore in the fourth quarter. I would say the Chiefs win this game 27-24. It's going to be close. But I think that they win this game 27-24, and that's my prediction in this game. And, even without Hollywood Brown in this game, and that's the question I was going to ask next is, can the Chiefs often succeed without Hollywood Brown when we look at it that way? And, and I'm going to say, yes, they can. Do you think that with this win for the Chiefs starting it off in style, do you, in my opinion at least, do you think that this is more so on the backs of the offense and the weapons that they've brought in this offseason, bringing back Juju, drafting Xavier Worthy, or is this going to be on the back of the defense? Is Chris Jones going to anchor this defense and help them get this win?
I personally think that we will need to see a play from Chris Jones to get them the W. I do agree there. However, I think this is about the offense of the Chiefs, because the scuttlebutt last year before we got into the playoffs was, oh, wow, this is not the Chiefs that was there when Tyreek Hill was the guy taking tops off defenses. Okay, so I think we have found Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite. Have him try to matriculate down the field. Thank you, late Hank Scram, for that note, for that word. We we feel as though we can just nip and nip and nip and nip, and we can make it and could force a turnover. And when that happens, you're right. You probably can force a turnover, but when you have a Patrick Mahomes who he doesn't really make that many mistakes, you still going to run into issues because he still can find a way to make that one play to hurt you. Instead of the long bomb for touchdowns, now it's the back-breaking third downs. And so, yes, the Chiefs most certainly offensively can succeed without Hollywood Brown. I think it'd be more along the lines of Hollywood who? Like they'll be saying about Rashee Rice.
Yes, absolutely. I'm with you on that too. And I kind of got a little too excited because it has been a while since we've been able to do this as the I said 27-24 Chiefs. Who you going?
I think the Chiefs will win it. And I think they'll win it. Although I say the Ravens need to win this more. I don't think the Ravens have enough to beat the Chiefs yet. I want to say they do. I don't feel it. And all the Chiefs need to do is just, I hate to say it like this, just simply do the exact same thing they did 7.5 months ago on Thursday. Just not turn the ball over, get key third downs, get the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands. And when you get it in his hands, make him think. Whether it's in the pocket or out the pocket, make him think. And if they can get Jackson in the mode to where he thinks a little too much, that is in the Chiefs' favor.
I'm with you on that. If the Ravens win this game, it will be because Derrick Henry turned back the clock and Lamar Jackson didn't really attempt to run the ball, because that's what we had seen way too much in the past, where Lamar Jackson was the leading rusher each and every week, which is why they kind of had to go after a big name running back to kind of lighten that load. Because you and I were talking about it all last year.
Yep.
And even when we were covering UFL and CFL, when you have a quarterback that is your primary rusher, it'll only get you by for so long to where you eventually get exposed into a bad hit that you're sidelined for a while with an injury, or they figure it out and they find ways to defend it better. And it makes you to where you have to drop back and pass more. And then you're going to probably more than likely have more turnovers because you're passing the ball more than you want to, because you're not mixing it up with the run enough, because it all starts with the run. A well-balanced offense, you have to establish the run. And even though Lamar Jackson has proven in his career, especially the fact that he's an MVP, NFL MVP of a regular season. Yeah. With that being said, he can run. But as you get older, you starts to wear on you. And if you want to have a good lengthy career in this league, you've got to learn to be more of a quarterback rather than a hybrid style player like he has been. That's been successful for him, but you're eventually going to either A, wear yourself out, or B, you're going to, sustain injury. And that's going to be just as bad, if not more detrimental than option A. So I'm going with you, and my pick is the Chiefs. I'm saying 27-24, and it's going to be a little bit of a cleaner contest, and they have more options to work with within that offense now, minus Hollywood Brown, who's out this week, hopefully back next week after an extended break. Since they have a game this Thursday, they'll have a little bit more of a break before they play again in the Sunday game of week 2.
And here's the stat to me that's the kicker in the AFC Championship game. Lamar Jackson that game ran the ball 8 times. You know how many times the other running backs touched the ball? 8. You cannot have your quarterback touch the ball in terms of running that many more times than any of your running backs. That is dangerous, and that is why I applauded the move of Derrick Henry becoming a Raven, because I think the Ravens brass understood it. It's like, we cannot have number 8 run that much because we will run him into the ground. We need to have somebody to take that pressure off of him, and hopefully this will help him.
And as long as Derrick Henry can stay healthy, and if he can turn back the clock to maybe Derrick Henry of 3 years ago, I say then they got a steal in this offseason. But we'll have to see. We've only got a little bit more time. We've got less than 72 hours until NFL
Sounds good.
football.
That sounds
It feels great to say that.
Who's giving them the business?
Our next part of our featured attractions, we're going to go to a game where we actually have Friday Night Lights. And I missed the button earlier. I didn't notice that we had these. It's primarily for CFL.
Actually, I have one specifically for this game.
Seeing these extra buttons to click warms my heart on this special holiday edition of our 1-year anniversary edition. And, I want to click it again. I'm sorry. Those of you out there listening or watching, it was just that was just a special moment because now we have extra buttons to click. Now, right here for this game, for the featured attractions, when it comes to this Friday game, it's 8:15 p.m. on Friday night. And, we talked about many months back when this game was announced, the fact of the type of jerseys they were only allowed to wear because of the colors in Brazil. I mean, that's how little football action we had at that point, to where our main topic was talking about the jerseys of two teams that were still several months away from playing. We are now finally here in the moment to where we can actually talk about the preview of the game. Okay.
Yeah.
And those two teams that are playing in Brazil on Friday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time are the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. When it comes to the Packers, can they stop the run and show improvement on defense, which is where something they had a lot of trouble this past year? And the Eagles have proved at times, and especially with their signing of Saquon Barkley this past offseason, are they going to have troubles with that? Are we going to see the Eagles highly run the ball all over the Packers and not be able to stop it on the other end?
I think for the Eagles to win this game, that's exactly what they need to do. And if I were the Eagles, that's exactly what I would attack. I would attack that Packers front four because I would want to actually have them show me that you can stop the running attack. You can stop us being physical up front. Because when teams want to be, or at least as of last year, when teams wanted to be physical against the Packers, they were successful against them. So the Eagles have the back to do it. They have the game to do it. Now the question is, will Nick Sirianni call the offense to do it and game plan to do it? That is what I would do. Do I think they have the ability to stop the run? Yeah, but, and I have to say it that way because I know that this was something that they needed to address, and they addressed it via depth, but there wasn't that high profile space eater that made me say, okay, I think it's going to be much tougher for them for people to run the ball against the Packers. I didn't hear that, so I think they have the ability to show improvement. I don't know if it's going to be improvement that we're going to want to see in terms of, yeah, this is going to be a Super Bowl contender because they defensively make it difficult for you to run against them. I don't see that.
It's going to be interesting to see how things pan out when it comes to, this game right here. And, it's like I said with the question, with the Packers being able to stop the run, and show improvement on defense, this has to happen if you're the Packers and Jordan Love, because you can't rely on the kicker we just talked about, Mr. Narvis. You cannot rely on him. It's going to be the arm of Jordan Love. It's going to be the defense stopping the run from the Eagles, and it's going to be in a couple moments where you might have the need for clutch kicking from your rookie kicker. Those are going to be the factors of this game when it comes to the Packers potentially getting the win. When it comes to the Eagles, it's going to have to be very similar to what we talked about with the last game, where the quarterback relies less on his legs, being Jalen Hurts coming into year 5. He's been to a Super Bowl, lost it in heartbreaking fashion. you have, an offensive line that's different because your centerpiece, your core of it, your center, Jason Kelsey, has retired.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, had he known they were bringing in Saquon Barkley, we would have had a treat of one more year with Kelsey. But, he has said that since he's retired. Had he known, that they were bringing in Saquon Barkley, he would have stayed for one more year. But with that being said, that is now water under the bridge as he is not coming back. But you did upgrade your running game, which is what you needed help with. The Ravens, in my opinion, needed it. That move with Henry was more detrimental than breaking in Barkley, as far as they really, really, really have needed a running back for quite some time. The Eagles have been able to get by because of the fact of, one, Hurts is younger, and they had younger running backs like Miles Sanders and stuff around them. They had options. The Ravens literally had nobody because it was all, Lamar Jackson, and then they got Derrick Henry. Now with the Eagles, it's a lot more well-balanced, and it's a lot more well-balanced early on, and you have players at younger ages at these positions than in the previous match that we had talked about. So looking at this right here, and looking at these two teams playing in this game right here, when it comes to the fact of them playing in a different country, how much will playing in Brazil affect these two teams in this game?
It'll affect them some. I don't think it'll affect them a lot, considering that you're dealing with maybe an hour later normal time. So I don't think it would affect them all that much. Or Sao Paulo might be even the Eastern time zone. I got to check that. Either it's going to be Eastern or Atlantic. But so to me, I think the time zone difference won't be a problem. It'll just be if they can adjust to a different country,
The atmosphere
and the atmosphere around, because I don't think Sao Paulo is high up in altitude. I don't think so. I think it's going to be just getting a familiarity with the area, because you have to understand, even though it's in the southern hemisphere and it's rather temperate, in Brazil September is winter. So winter heading into spring. So that's an interesting dynamic. Now, I don't think it's going to be cold in Sao Paulo, but it will not be intense and hot like they've been accustomed to playing here last month and early this month and practicing. So I think it won't affect them all that much. They actually might welcome it, considering that weather-wise it will be rather comfortable, really.
I think I'm going to agree with you on that too. It's the atmosphere, maybe a little bit different for them, the fans, the culture and all that stuff, but things they can definitely embrace between now and when they actually get to kick off on Friday. And, looking at that, besides the fact that you have Saquon Barkley in his first game for the Eagles, you've also got Josh Jacobs, who's in his first game for the Packers. So they made an upgrade over there at running back this offseason there in Green Bay. We talk about all these different things between them playing in a different country, between, the new additions to the team for both teams this offseason. What's your overall game prediction now when it comes to these two teams facing off in Brazil on Friday?
This one to me is the hardest prediction for me to land. And the reason being is I'm not quite sure where I want to lean here. We got a chance to see Jordan Love do his thing against the Cowboys in the playoffs, and looked really good against the 49ers in NL the next week. So there's a lot of talk of Jordan Love is going to be the guy who now is going to look as good as Rodgers and as good as far before him. So you have that talk coming in. And like you said, Josh Jacobs was a really good pickup for him, because I think they need to have more of a focus on the running game. Even though Aaron Jones was good, he's more of a multifaceted back. Josh Jacobs, who could do multiple things, he is primarily a runner. And I think that is what Love needed more than anything, because I think he has a great great bevy of young wide receivers. So to me, it's a game of two styles. You're going to have a team that wants to actually be wide open, like the Packers offensively, and you have a team in the Eagles who I think they want to dominate and run a little more. I'm leaning a little bit toward the Eagles, a little bit, but I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I would not be surprised if the Packers win, but I'm leaning to the Eagles.
I like your pick, and unfortunately, I'm going to disagree. I think the Packers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like the last game we talked about, where it's going to be a decision of a field goal. And I think Narvison's going to come through, which is why I said what I said with that, pick for the dog of the week. When it comes to both teams have new defensive coordinators in Vic Fangio and Jeff Hafley, the Packers couldn't stop the run last year, and I brought that up earlier in our discussion.
Right.
The Eagles couldn't stop the pass. Look for a shootout with this game right here, with the Packers winning, in my opinion, on a walk-off field goal by Narvison, if Green Bay did in fact choose the right kicker. Okay, that's going to be my pick when it comes to the Packers winning over the Eagles 31-28.
Good score.
And hopefully this comes through. But I don't disagree with the fact of your takes leading into your choice for the Eagles. But unfortunately, next week when we come back, we'll be talking about how one of us was wrong and that the other was right when it comes to discussing who was going to take the
Who's giving them the business?
All right, so now moving on to our last game in the featured attractions. With this right here, I figured because this is two teams that made some drastic overhauls at the quarterback position this offseason, and both teams have had a lot of drama surrounding that position this offseason. I figured this would be something good to look at, and the fact that you have Arthur Smith, who was the head coach of the Falcons, now as the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. So putting all that in perspective, I just felt like that was necessary pick for the featured attractions this week. And with that being said, we talk about this game and the fact that it is a Sunday game. It's a great button to click right there. Cole absolutely crushed it with these transitions for our update this week. And with that being said, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons this Sunday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Will Arthur Smith's offense hold up against his former team's defense?
No. Look, I want to really feel as though the Steelers got the memo and that the defense is their bread and butter, and they need to have a solid running game to execute that. And you got to protect the two QBs who you have, both Wilson and Fields. But man, what I saw in the preseason was, oh gosh. I mean, I'm talking about hitting buttons. I mean, seeing that offense being executed, it literally was with Wilson not really feeling the urgency of executing plays, and Fields not even having the center, the quarterback has changed down multiple times. And both looked out of sorts, no matter who was under center, no matter if it was the first or second team that was on for the Steelers, and they still seemingly have issues in terms of continuity on the on the offensive line front. So all of that makes me say, I don't know if this offense can hold up against the Falcons defense. And oh, by the way, the defense that of the team you left, they got an upgrade with Matthew Judon as their pass rusher. So, no, I don't think so. But what I do think, though, is my partner. Okay, my bad.
Did it again. I mean, I did good. We went about a little over an hour and a half without that
There
happening
you go.
today.
There you
So,
go.
a little pat on the back for that, but it still did happen. All right. Now, I agree wholeheartedly with you on this. Artie, without the stash, is still not going to be able to do anything great for the Falcons except for hand them a dub this week. That's what he's going to do. He's going to hand them a dub. It's going to be the nicest thing he did for that franchise since the day he was fired. Okay. So when it comes to Artie, mustacheless and all, he is going to be part of leading an offense into what's the man's name? He was in Denver. Now he's the offensive coordinator of the Jets. I'm drawing a blank right now. I can see his face. I see his stupid look on his face, but I can't remember his name.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, Nathaniel Hackett. I was like, starts with the N. He's going to draw up Nathaniel Hackett-like plays for this offense with a stupid look on his face, and they're going to get destroyed. That's what's going to happen Sunday afternoon by the Falcons. Regardless if Cousins plays the whole game and Penix comes in for a few, or however they do it, or if Falcons just let Cousins play the whole game and light up the Steelers. It's hard to say that because the Steelers defense might be the only thing keeping them in the game. It might be a close game because of the fact they have a good defense and the Falcons have a bad offense. But looking at this, before we go into our overall game prediction, with both teams having new quarterbacks under center, who will prevail, and will a backup play?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'm not totally sure about the health of Kirk Cousins. I want to be assured that he actually is good. I mean, the dude is coming back from a debilitating injury. So, similar to actually that of Aaron Rodgers. So, we'll probably revisit the same question with Aaron Rodgers as we are with Kirk Cousins. That is, to me, the biggest question mark, bigger than Wilson and Fields. I will say no, because I think it would be a detriment to the Falcons if we would have the quarterback carousel happen the very first game of the regular season and you sign Kirk Cousins in March to a big time contract, and then you draft his replacement the very next month. And then here you are, the first game, the two quarterbacks are on the field, both actually have a taste of starting in the game or taking snaps with the first team in the game. I'll say no. I don't think that's going to happen unless Cousins goes out with another injury. I'm praying that doesn't happen, obviously. So to me, Kirk Cousins to me right now is better than either Fields or Wilson at present. We might see Fields play. So that's a possibility. We might see Fields come in and play. And it might not necessarily be just to replace Wilson. It might be, okay, so, all right, Russell, you don't have the wheels for this one. Maybe we need to put Justin in, basically like almost 30 years ago when Cordell Stewart, a.k.a. Slash, served that role where when he wanted to be everything else, running back and wide receiver too, he would take snaps on the center and replacement of Neil O'Donnell, but it was not for a whole game. It was just for a play or two. So we might see that from the Steelers. Now, I don't know if Arthur Smith is going to be that ingenious in his offensive attack. I doubt it. He's proven that he's not that. I mean, he was that way as the head coach of the Falcons. He was that way with the offense coordinator of the Titans. He I won't say boring, but he runs an unimaginative offense. So I highly doubt that'll happen, but I could see Tomlin pressuring him to do that. So for the Falcons, I say no. For the Steelers, I think we might.
A very, very good description, especially when it comes to the Kirk Cousins situation. I'm definitely on board with that because we really haven't seen it. We haven't seen him at all because, I mean, of course, they're not going to throw him out there during preseason. They've allowed him to heal up and get ready to rock and roll for this game one. With two teams with quarterback drama in the offseason facing off, Mike Tomlin chose Russell Wilson, but it's possible that both Wilson and Fields play on the road in this game, which is why I put who will the backups play in this question. Atlanta will go with Kirk Cousins with the first round pick, Michael Penix Jr. watching. Atlanta was 5-3 at home last year with their record, and the Steelers were 5-4 on the road. So it's similar records. It's a true coin flip in this game. And we're going to, between the two of us, we're going to trust the Steelers made the right decision with starting Russell Wilson. Okay.
Agreed.
The Falcons, it was a no-brainer. You're, of course, going to start Kirk Cousins because of the money you threw in this offseason. And, you got to see if you're going to get dividends for that or not.
Right.
So the fact that when it comes to the Steelers, I feel like we have more of a chance to see Justin Fields play in this game as a backup than Michael Penix Jr., unless with what you were saying with Kirk Cousins, he's just not quite ready to be under center yet. But, based on the fact that this happened at least around mid-year last year when he was with Minnesota,
correct.
We saw how Aaron Rodgers came back, and he's a little bit older, and Aaron Rodgers was in communication with Kirk Cousins with the type of therapy that he was going through in order to come back. If Aaron Rodgers could come back as fast as he did and still had the potential to play, but the Jets were, mathematically eliminated at that point around Christmas, and there's no point in him playing. If he could come back and be, in the eyes of the media and with what he was saying, ready to play, I feel like Kirk Cousins will be able to play, and we have more of a chance to see Justin Fields play on Sunday for the Steelers as a backup quarterback than Michael Penix Jr. So, although I support what you're saying, I just feel like with the advancements in medicine and technology, we might not see the Kirk Cousins like when he was putting the chains around his neck and having a great time in Minnesota, fun and loose and playing very free at that moment. But we may see a Kirk Cousins that could still potentially lead a team to victory. And with that being said, what are your game predictions for this? Who wins and why?
And good point about modern medicine. And to be fair, I actually think Cousins will come back and actually play well. I'm just understanding that he's on the wrong side of 35. So
Facts.
So and each player is different. However, you do make a great point with Rodgers. He's older, and they said that he was ready to come back in December, which I highly doubt that he really was ready, but hey. So I think he will be able to play. And I think because of the fact you have a steady-handed QB under the Falcons, for the Falcons, to me, that's a difference. I think you have steady play with Cousins at QB, and I think we will see Matthew Judon take full advantage of the I don't know what you call the Steelers offensive line. I think you will see those things happen. Those two players make a big impact, and of course you got Bijan Robinson, who I think is going to put the Steelers defense, as good as they are, on their heels. So I think it's going to be the Falcons. I don't think it's going to be a close game, but I don't think it's going to be a rout either. But I do see the Falcons winning it.
I really want to support what you're saying when it comes to the game result. And I could be wrong unless they turn it up. But for some reason, I could be wrong unless they go backwards. I feel like the Steelers' offense, with their offensive line, playing like absolute trash last year and playing like trash for 2 out of their 3 preseason games, their first 2 games, definitely was a sign that this could be something we could be seeing a lot of during the 2024 season.
Facts.
However, the 3rd preseason game, they had stepped it up a notch, and they looked a little bit better. And I feel like against an Atlanta Falcons defense that is not anywhere close to as good as with the weapons that they have on offense, I feel like the Atlanta Falcons defense is going to get exposed a little bit. The Steelers' offensive line will be able to hold up just enough to make Russell Wilson look good or good enough, or they'll struggle the first half, bring in Fields, and Fields will be the one that looks good in behind that offensive line. The Steelers will win this game, in my opinion, and I think they're going to win the game 27-21.
Yeah, for me, I just don't. I want to have more faith on offensive line. I most certainly do not have faith in who the heck is going to run the ball for the Steelers.
Najee Harris.
I was going to say if it's going to be Harris, it's going to be a limping Warren. Is it going to be somebody else? And then your number one wide receiver is George Pickens, who doesn't have the most stable of heads. So, I mean, it's just too many question marks on offense for me with the Steelers that make me say I pick them. Not saying that I disagree with why you chose the Steelers, because I understand the Falcons defense, other than Judon, they're not the best of shakes. But their secondary is coming around, and they have a couple of pieces here and there, I think, that can elevate their play. But do I think they're world beaters? No, they're not. I just have more faith in Cousins. That's just me.
It'd be interesting to see how it pans out. It really will. And especially how we got a featured attractions first of the NFL season, and you and I disagreed on 2 of the 3 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out for this, as we have Playmaker in the house saying, hello, fellas. Happy Labor Day.
Hey, what's up, Playmaker? It's good to see you, man.
Glad you're able to make it there, Playmaker. And he also throws a little shade on Cole Johnson. A dumpster on fire, floating on water. That damn Cole Johnson did it again.
I saw that. I was like, I got to get that one. That's just too good. That's too good to pass up.
And if you love shenanigery within our comments from our TFT tribe or within ourselves on the air, make sure you subscribe now and never miss out on new content, whether you're watching on Comey Media or Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. Let's take it into our next part of the show.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
And that being my favorite part of the week. That being when we get to click this button and showcase the snowflake of the week.
Total Football Talk.
Oh, yeah. It's that time for the snowflake of the week. When it comes to his choice for who that is, let's start it off with Cole.
Oh, my. Hold on. Let me see if I could do that. I'm going to do this correctly. Oh, my. So we had an interesting week, even though we didn't have action on the field. Action off the field definitely was at an all-time high, and it came from one of my favorite people. I mean, it really did. I'm almost overjoyed that we're here this segment, because I get a chance to shine a light on one of our favorite people. And the comment that made him the snowflake of the week is, quote, I've done it all, so I have an inordinate amount of confidence that, hey, if anybody can figure out how to get this done, I can figure out how to get it done. I've been there every which way from Sunday, and I have busted my behind a bunch. And there ain't nobody that living that outcutting and outshooting that can give you a bunch of times they busted their behind. So no, there's nobody that could come close and come in higher and do all the contracts and be a JM any better than I can. Close quote. And that came from our wonderful buddy, Jerry Jones, but I call him Gerald. You are over 80 years of age. What makes you think that you still are an adequate GM? I'm not saying that you don't know talent. And I'm not saying you don't know the sport. But you cannot come in here and say that you are the best possible asset as a GM. This isn't the 90s where you had the benefit of having the greatest haul ever in the history of the sport, where the Vikings must have had some type of concussion, where it's like, oh yeah, we'll take Herschel Walker and we'll just give you 12 different picks. You have benefited from that. In fact, your business, now at evaluated over $10 billion, basically was on the backs of those draft picks. One of them being Emmitt Smith. And I can go on and on with the draft choices that you made. But no, 2024, you're not. It's the ship has sailed. Time is gone. You got to relinquish the reins. And I get it. You feel as though, since the buck stops higher with mine, that you are the guy. No, you're not, Gerald. You're not the guy. I'm so sorry. So this comes from the energy that I have when I do Mentality with Wiser Lefe, where he says with politicians there should be age limits. I really believe there should be age limits with executive positions. Now, as an owner, fine. Just as long as you have somebody that can do the day-to-day operations, like how with the Texans do, the team down south, 250 miles south of you, where you have Cal McNair, who he runs the day-to-day operations, but his mother is the one who signs the checks. That's what you should be. You should be the man who signs the checks, and you should give Steven the opportunity to run the day-to-day operations of the team. And he is a pretty decent GM too. So for you to basically say that for you to go on and say that you should not relinquish your turn to be the GM is a little short-sighted, considering that, January of the 2025 will mark 29 years since your team has not seen the NFC Championship game, and that is if they make it to the NFC Championship game this year. That is due to your inaptitude at general manager.
Jerome makes the snowflake of the week. Is this 2 weeks in a row?
He didn't make the snowflake for me last week. He actually, it was Trey Lance who made the
and then you transitioned to talking about Gerald. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's no way that you can throw 5 interceptions in the preseason and then you have the owner of the team say, "Oh, the roster spot is all set for him."
I concur with your thoughts. And I think you're going to appreciate where I'm going to take this, and it's probably going to hit you. It's probably going to take you for a whirl with me even talking about it. But someone's got to. I never would have thought that I would have brought this type of subject to Total Football Talk, but it is football related. And it did happen here recently, and it involves an ex-NFL star who criticized the University of Clemson for having too many white dudes on the football team.
Oh my God.
Roddy White opened his mouth here recently and discussed that being a factor and the reason why Georgia beat Clemson 34-3 in that game. Number 13, Clemson was hoping to start the season with an upset win over number 1 Georgia, but the Tigers fell off the pace in the second half after keeping it a 6-point game at halftime. Bulldogs quarterback Carson Beck threw 2 touchdowns in the second half, while Nate Frazier and Cash Jones ran for 1 touchdown each. White criticized Clemson's recruiting strategy and made race a factor, stating, quote, Clemson got way too many white dudes on the field on offense. This ain't them. You mean to tell me you only got one black dude out there making plays? That's a recruiting problem, he wrote on X. Now, I can understand where, he feels sensitive to this situation, right? There's been a lot of sensitivity when it comes to, race and privilege and opportunities for decades, right? And when it comes to opportunities spread out equally to all races, I have no qualms, no issues with any of that. What I do have an issue with is when things don't go some certain ways for others, and people want to point out things that have no business being pointed out. If Clemson would have won the game and beat Georgia, would you be saying something similar to the fact that they had too many white dudes on the team and it wasn't fair and Clemson got the win over Georgia? No, I don't think so. The fact is they are number 13 ranked, and you have a Georgia team that has been absolutely dominating here in recent years. So whether it was Clemson playing a team, whether it was Georgia playing a team in Clemson with, a difference in numbers and races to your liking or not, Clemson was going to lose that game to Georgia. I'm sorry. I don't care if it was 50-50 or 6-5, one way or another when it comes to race, origin, whatever, on that side of the ball, on offense, defense, whatever. It has no business. And we have seen too much of this since the year 2020 when politics were rampant and when COVID was going on and people were getting butthurt, acting like snowflakes and acting like this was the 60s and the 1960s all over again. We've seen a lot of change out here in these streets since the 60s. Thank you, Dr. King, okay, to where you made things the way that things were so that way I could meet brothers throughout the past decades of time that led me to meeting Cole Johnson multiple years ago. And that has nothing to do with color, it has everything to do with meeting someone of great mind sense like myself who loves to talk football. And the color of our skin has nothing to do with it. Okay? So right here and now, Roddy White, you are my snowflake of the week because you had to bring color into a sport and talk about something that you didn't like and open your mouth into public talking about it, and it made no sense.
I can't believe that. Wow. Look. The fact that Clemson had whoever they had and they got boat raced by Georgia. I agree with you. It had nothing to do with skin color. Heck, it could have been all 80 players that were black on the team. It still would have been probably a 34-3 butt whooping.
Yeah. You could play the HBCU team. It still would have been the same.
Yeah.
It'd been worse, probably.
So no.
Especially if you're playing Jackson State, okay?
Right. So, but no, I don't. And to here we are, 2024, and we're talking about this. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, and yes, this is a sport where when you get to the NFL, 70% of the players are black. But it does not mean that other cultures are ill-equipped to play the sport. They're not. They are. They're very much equipped to play the sport. So it doesn't matter. Look, to me, if it's 100 white guys, 100 Samoans, 100 Latinos, I don't care. As long as they get the job done, that's all that matters to me. So you could sell me black players are better and they're better athletes than the rest, but do not say that to me because I will go right back to when Jimmy the Greek back in 1987 was stupid and drunk enough to actually say that crap. And because of it, CBS, and he was the most popular figure on on CBS NFL Today, booted them off because there's no place for that. And the reason being, he said that they were bucks and they had the training back in slavery, that they were better athletes then, and it has extrapolated itself to then, which was the late 1980s. And that's a take even then that was so far off the pale. That's ridiculous. You fast forward now 37 years later, and we still have to think of similar things such as that. No, Roddy. Come on, man. You got to do better than that, bro. Jeez. And you have played on the field. You have been an NFL player. And you were pretty good when you were wide receiver for the Falcons. You know this, man. It was the Falcons weren't all black on the team. No, man. Before you pop off with takes such of that nature, you got to do the research and you got to do the work, bro. Just promise me to do that. Jeez, I don't believe you said that.
Wow. I don't think he's going to be able to uphell that promise for you, Cole. I mean, based on with what he said, I mean, I hope he does. I really hope he does. But, you got to get all the facts straight before you start, pointing fingers at origins and race. And you broke it down beautifully. So hopefully he learns a lesson. But I just don't see it, especially with the context of what he said. We'll see. I mean, time heals all wounds, and as long as you look at history and review it, then you have a less likely chance of repeating it. But it looks like he wasn't strong in the skilled subject of history throughout school, because had he been educated in that fact, we wouldn't have seen this happen in this recent history today. So with that being said,
good choice, man.
Yes. Thank you. And then when it comes to that, we shall see how things go when it comes to, our upcoming topic of the 2-minute drill. But for our snowflake of the week, that definitely ends it to that.
Total football talk.
Now it's time for the 2-minute drill, not as lengthy as our featured attractions. Basically, we give our quick takes on who we think is going to win and a quick reason of why. And we'll start this off with the games on Sunday, as we've already previewed Thursday and Friday games. Oh, man, I clicked the wrong one, I think. Here we go. There you go, everybody. All right, those of you watching live or syndicated, there you go. We'll cut that out for the radio. It's all good. It's all good. All right, now back here for this when it comes to Sunday. Carolina Panthers travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints Sunday, 1 o'clock. Who wins, Cole?
Well, look, unfortunately, New Year, same old Panthers. I just don't think they have anything for the Saints. And they may have tried to improve that offensive line. I don't think it's improved enough. And I still feel for Bryce Young. So I go with the Saints.
I agree. The Saints are going to mollywop them one way or another. But in the crowd, somebody's going to go, "You ugly." Yeah, you ugly. This is what's going to happen, because that's going to be what they're going to be saying about this game right here. Have the Panthers winning, but it's going to be an ugly contest.
Oh, you said ugly.
Who's giving them the business?
What you got? Yeah, that fit better. Yeah, you did. Both you ugly. I agree when it comes to that.
It's going to be a horrible game. Yeah.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Sunday, same time, 1 o'clock. Minnesota Vikings travel to New York to take on the Giants. Who wins this one?
Man, I'm almost starting to feel for the Vikings. It's like they it's like a black cat just running all over their organization. And it looks like it started ever since Cousins was like, yeah, I've had great fun in the Twin Cities, but I got to go back on the ATL. The wife is telling me I got to go. So it says like ever since then, they've had some hard luck, culminating in JJ McCarthy, who unfortunately he's now out for the year, and he actually looked pretty good in the preseason. And now they got to go with Sam Darnold. This is horrible. This is going to be just as bowling shoe ugly too. I'm gonna actually have to go with the Giants, and I really don't want to. I really don't want to. Oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with the Giants, even though that I don't want to, because the Vikings are starting Sam Darnold. Why are you starting again?
Right.
That is why the Vikings are going to lose this game, and the Giants are going to win.
Who's giving them the business?
New England Patriots, same time, Sunday, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time, travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bungles. Are they going to be the Bungles, or are they going to be the Bengals? What happens in this game, Patriots or Bungles?
Well, I'm looking forward to Drake May, see how he's going to be a QB when he starts on the. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Let me see. Oh, thank you, stat guy. Oh, Jacoby Brissett starting. Okay, sorry. Thank you. There should be no reason for the Bengals to not boat race the Patriots. I really believe that you have a returning Joe Burrow. Of course, he could be blindfolded, and the same thing with Jamar Chase, and they find each other on the field. I don't know how that's the case. It's been that way ever since they went LSU. Just that electric pairing alone gives me pause to say the Patriots stand a chance of this game. The Bengals should simply boat race them.
I would have to say that I think this has got to be somewhere close to like the largest line of the week. Like,
if it's not as close to it,
it's got to be the Bengals. Like, whether it's Burrow or if they put in Jake Browning, they are going to win this game decisively.
Yes. Yeah,
especially with what we saw with Browning doing last year. Yeah. So, regardless, Bengals are winning. They are not going to be the Bungles this week.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
What you got?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I was about to say, I thought you had some other fire to click on a button. But, yes, we will definitely see greatness come from the Bengals in comparison to the Patriots. Now, your team, same time, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. The Houston Texans travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Two young quarterbacks in their second year. Who gets the win?
Man, this is going to be tough. I'm trying not to be Homer. The Colts give the Texans a lot of difficulty. Even in the W they got in Week 18 last year, that did not come easy. That was a struggle. I mean, it came down to the last possession of the game. So for me, it is all about if the Texans can find a way to corral Jonathan Taylor. If they can not have him just go off, because if he does, the Colts should win this game easily. If they can find a way to, I won't say stop him, if they can find a way to contain him, I do like the Texans' chances. And I will slightly go the Texans' direction because I really believe that I think we're going to see a growth with CJ Stroud. Whereas with I'm blanking Richardson, as with Richardson, he's still having to learn. In fact, this will be his third ever NFL start. So I think because of that, I have to pick the Texans.
Anthony Richardson struggled in preseason. And the hype on Houston is real. I mean, even from last year to now, based on what we've still been able to see, the Texans have also won the last two meetings at Lucas Oil Stadium.
That's correct.
And Stroud keeps that momentum from last season rolling. And, possibly an interception in the fourth quarter could ice this game for the Texans. I'm going to go with the Texans winning this game 31-21 at Lucas Oil Stadium. Stroud continues greatness, and the Texans get the win here.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Next game we have still another Sunday 1:00 p.m. Eastern time game. The Arizona Cardinals travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Who do you have here, Cole?
Kyler Murray, you got a weapon. You have no excuse. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the deal. He's the real deal. This is a better weapon than even DeAndre Hopkins. And I am huge, or was huge, on DeAndre Hopkins. Now age has taken effect on him, unfortunately. He's still good, but to me, he was elite when he was in the last few years with the Texans and almost his time with the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. has the ability to be even better. So don't screw it up by wanting to play Call of Duty and not try to get some sort of chemistry with him, because you got a stud at wide receiver and you got some really good running backs. So utilize that and don't think you can play hero ball. Unfortunately for me, I think he wants to play hero ball far too much. And I don't even have to talk about what the Bills can do against the Cardinals. Just that alone makes me pick the Bills.
Yep. I mean, the fact that the Cardinals were 2-7 on the road last year, regardless if you have Marvin Harrison Jr., and the drama that's been circulating Marvin Harrison Jr. based on the Fanatics deal from college rolling on into this year, and how things still haven't quite subsided with that yet.
Yeah.
I can't go against the Bills in this game as much as I would like to see the Cardinals resurge here. I think it's another game where I got to go with a 10-point deficit. I'm going to go with the Bills 30, Cardinals 20. They win this game decisively in Buffalo.
Who's giving them the business?
All right, next game that we have, another 1:00 p.m. Eastern time game on Sunday. Tennessee Titans travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. Who wins this game, Cole? Is it Caleb Williams or is it Will Levis? The quarterback's leading them to a victory this Sunday.
Here's what I find interesting about this matchup. Now, Levis has had some time. Now he's in his second year, and he's had a few starts under his belt. Of course, this is Caleb Williams' first ever NFL start. And no Bears fan, you're not undefeated. I know you want to claim that we were 4-0. That was all preseason. Pipe it down. You're 0-0 now. Woosah. Now, to me, which running game is going to be more effective? And I think that's where I am with this game. I want to see who is going to dictate the line of scrimmage for whether it's for the Bears. I think it's Herbert. I think it's the main running back for them, or if it's going to be Tony Pollard. Thank you. If it's going to be Tony Pollard for the Titans. Which one is going to help dictate the physicality? For me, I'm leaning a little bit more toward the Titans. Of course, I'm rooting for the Bears, but I'm leaning toward the Titans to win it. And believe me, I want to be 100% wrong.
When I made my choice, I thought of you and your hatred for the Titans, because it was like literally, it was a flip of a coin at who was going to win this game based upon the talent that the Titans have, and the Bears have, the upgrades they've made and the losses that they've had.
Right.
And when you look at the fact that the Bears had 2 first-round picks and they used that on Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, and you've got Keenan Allen coming in here. You've got weapons. You got more weapons than what Justin Fields had last year, and you have a quarterback that's better than Justin Fields, even not even with having an NFL start yet. So the defense still needs improvement when it comes to the Bears. That's the biggest issue right there. Yes. Yeah. And if Will Levis can expose that defense, he's only a second-year quarterback, but if he can expose them and make the right plays in a new-look offense with his first-year coach, Brian Callahan, Tennessee could still pull the upset here. But I believe if the Bears will get a late turnover to pull off an exciting Week 1 victory, and I have them winning this 24-21.
I want that to happen, and I am interested to see if that offense is going to if the offense that the new head coach for the Titans, that he ran under Joe Burrow for the Bengals, if it's going to transfer down south. I want to see if that can happen. And if it transfers easily, then I agree with that upset possibly happening. However, I am rooting for the Bears to win wholeheartedly. I'm picking the Titans, but I'm rooting for the Bears to win. Ooh.
Let's hope it happens.
Who's giving them the business?
And our last Sunday, 1:00 p.m. Eastern time game, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Miami, still within the state of Florida, to take on the Dolphins. Who wins this game and why? As these two teams showcase two quarterbacks, it's like a prove-it year for both Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. Who do you think wins this first game of the year?
You could not have nailed the exact thought process I have with both Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. This is a prove-it year. This is almost like a contract year, whether it's not a contract that's on the table this coming off season for either quarterback or not. Because I think we got a chance to see Lawrence last year start out pretty well, and then he started to fade a bit, and then he got injured, and then that just messed him up the rest of the year. And then you had Tua, who started off like a house of fire, and then it was as if when the calendar flipped to December, everything offensively started to just go down the tubes. Since this is in Miami, and I don't really have too much faith in how the Jaguars look offensively now. I want to, and yes, I know Calvin Ridley's there, and they have talent offensively. I get it. The Dolphins offense is just too potent, too powerful. They can run you out of the building. They can throw you out the building. I have the Dolphins. And since this is at home, I easily have the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against what you're saying here. You know, based on the fact that you've got Tua and Tyreek Hill restoring their connection with one another, you know, their defense will be healthy too, which is something that hurt them towards the end of the year last year, which they were getting banged up on defense. And they're going against a Jaguars team that one week they look like they could be a contender, and the next week they look like they're absolute dumpster Pelicans. And they didn't really make enough moves in the offseason to deter me from that thought from their previous season. Right. So with that being said, because it's a Miami home game and with everything you and I both just said, I'm going with Miami at home. In this game, I'm thinking it's still going to be a little close, but I think the Dolphins win this 131-28. That's going to be my choice in this game this upcoming weekend.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Now we move from the 1:00 p.m. slot, and I'm going to click the right button this time. We're going to the 4 p.m. game. And with the first 4 p.m. game, we talk about, you know, two teams that Russell Wilson used to play for actually going against each other this Sunday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern time. And that was when Denver, the Broncos, traveled to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Who wins this game and why? Does Bo Nix lead the Broncos to an upset victory here in Seattle?
Oh, the Russell Wilson X Bowl. So, all right. And you might have to help me on this. Do you think the magic of Geno Smith has worn off? Is the pixie dust gone?
A little bit.
I'm leaning toward yes, too. The comeback player of the year we saw from 2 years back, I don't think is not saying he's horrible and not saying he's going to be terrible. I'm just saying that I don't think he's going to be his 2022 self here in this game nor this year. And unfortunately, they need to have that 2022 version of him for the Seahawks to really, really shine. I really am, and you were high on him too. I'm really getting higher and higher on Bo Nix. And I think the reason why I like him is he has the age along with the fact that he is a rookie. That doesn't make me say, well, okay, he's too immature to actually handle the pressures in the NFL as a rookie. I think he can handle it. And because of that, I think we will be absolutely stunned. We will see the Broncos go into the Pacific Northwest and they'll steal a victory against the Seahawks. I really believe that.
I'm going with the upset too, because a lot of people, when you look into their predictions for Week 1, they have the Steelers winning in a very close game. But based on what we saw in preseason, I know preseason is different than regular season, but based on what we saw and what Bo Nix was able to do, and especially with what he did in college before he got here. There was hype on him before he even came out here, and a lot of people saying that he deserved to be inside the top 10 of the picks and even higher than the top 5. It had not been for some of the players that were drafted ahead of him having solid college careers last year as well. I'm going with Denver winning this game 21-17 in an upset road win over the Seahawks. And I just hope that comes true, because you said a lot of great sentiments in your take, and I'm throwing some extra layers on it for the icing on the cake. Bo Nix deserves to get this win and start this new era outright in Denver with a win on the road, which would be absolutely huge.
Who's giving them the business?
Our next game that we have, still same time, 4:05 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. The Las Vegas Raiders travel to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. Will AP, Antonio Pierce, lead his Raiders to victory in this game as their new full-on head coach? Because last year he was the interim. So technically this is 2 brand new head coaches between AP and Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers. Do you believe that the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh can pull an upset win at their own home stadium?
Yeah. I don't think this will be a 63-21 game that we saw when these two teams faced off last time. Because I think you will have, one, Justin Herbert on the field, and 2, the Chargers actually have an interest and really give a crap about playing. I think we're going to see something in the Chargers that I don't think we have seen in quite some time. Just and you are a football connoisseur, and you're also a good keeper of knowledge. The type of team that we have seen Harbaugh run, we don't even have to go. We don't have to go further back than when he was with the 49ers. The type of team that he helmed when he was with the 49ers, they were, punch you in the mouth, rough and tumble. They'll get the yards through the air when necessary, but they want to dominate you on the ground, and they want to beat you down defensively too. When he got to Michigan, same type of team. And so now when he's going to be with the Chargers, I think we're going to see a similar type of makeup, where I think this will be the benefit of what Justin Herbert needed. He will actually have, this is the funny part, he will actually have a guy who is offensive centric put forth and implement something that you would think a defensive minded head coach would. Oh, he had a defensive minded head coach in last year with Brandon Staley, and he just kept putting them in horrible situation after horrible situation. In this case, I really believe you will have Harbaugh put Herbert in really good situations. And unfortunately, I want to have faith in Gardner Minshew, and I want to have faith in Aiden O'Connor if he were to get off the bench and play too. Unfortunately, I think that is my issue with the Raiders. Defensively, I think they can hang. I'm a huge fan of Max Crosby. There's anything that dude could do wrong in my eyes. And offensively, yes, they got Devontae Adams. I just think that we're going to see a new understanding of physicality with the Chargers that we haven't seen in a while from that team, and I think that's going to have them be the victors at home against the Raiders.
I love exactly everything you just said. And Max Crosby, I don't think there's a team in the remaining 31 teams in the league. I don't think there's a team in the league that wouldn't mind having the services of Max Crosby on their defense. Okay. But unfortunately, when it comes to football, there's 10 other people that are on the field with you.
100.
So there's only so much one person can do. You can have the best player in all of the sport, but if you have dumpster Pelicans playing around them for all 10 positions, you have no chance. And the Raiders don't have that. I mean, they have some other good talents around them. They have a solid team they've been building over the years, but the Chargers have been building a decent team. They just had bad leadership, which is why they lost to the factor of what they did last year. And now they have a really good coach. And I think this game's going to be tight throughout, and it's going to come down to the final drive. The final drive, whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, this game in my mind is so close that I couldn't even put a prediction score for it. So I think the Chargers win. I'm with you on that because they actually have, much better leadership and coaching now, and not just at their head coach with Jim Harbaugh, but with the assistants that he brought around with them and some of the moves they made this offseason. Even though Austin Eckler is an upgrade at running back in Washington, I feel like moving on from him and in Los Angeles freed up not only some cap space, but another opportunity for one of these young players to shine. And we're going to get the opportunity to see that in this game. So with that being said, I'm going to agree with you 100% and say that the Chargers win this game. But the little bit of icing I'll throw on this cake for this one is it's going to come down to the final drive, and it may even come down to the final play if this thing has to go to overtime.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Sticking around 4 o'clock games, but these next two are 4:25 p.m. Eastern time games. We started off Dallas Cowboys traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who have a little bit more cap room from this past week with Deshaun Watson, restructuring his deal with Cleveland. So they have a little bit more cap space to bring in some more help at some point. Do you think that this Cleveland Browns team can mollywop the Gerald-led Cowboys at home, or is Gerald the greatest GM there ever was, and they're going to get this win to contradict what you said for your snowflake of the week?
Oh my God, greatest GM of all. Lord have mercy. Oh man. And then the messed up part is these two teams are not the talk of the town for the matchup, because this will be the very first color opportunity for one Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr. to show his wares off. I don't know if it's going to be good. All I know is he's going to be there. So all eyes will be all eyes will all eyes will be on Junior and the press booth of Fox, because we'll be seeing him try to see if he can be a good color guy. But for the game itself, the Cowboys should win this game, but what gives me pause is their running attack and their inability to want to go with the run. This team frustrates me. They frustrate me because they want to be wow. They want to be exciting. They want to draw in the casual fan, and sometimes they just eschew winning altogether. They have talent beyond talent defensively, and I don't think they're going to lose this game defensively. Unless they decide that, well, we're just going to mail it in like they did in the wild card round last year. But they have talent beyond talent defensively. And offensively, they have some talent too. I'm shaky with their offensive line. Not saying they're bad. I'm just shaky with them because I don't know if they have the proper depth to actually execute what they have. And then you got Mike McCarthy, who's allergic to calling the run, but maybe except for 2 or 3 games out the whole year. So unfortunately, I could see the Cowboys dropping Dak Prescott back 45, 50 times. And I think that's not one that you need to do against the Browns, a team that wants to pound you and pound you and pound you and pound you. And defensive, they can get after you too. So I'm going with the Browns at home on this one.
I brought up this picture of the second just now because of his look on his face. Because just like what Cole said, this is his first game that he's in the booth for.
Junior!
This is This is the look that I imagine that's on his face when he's standing just outside the locker rooms because he can't go in there because he's barred from them right now while he's trying to become a minority owner of the Raiders. With the background music, with the look on his face going, I can't live without you, going on in the background as he's standing outside the locker rooms because he cannot go in. Now, for all comedic purposes aside, because the second can't get in the locker room because he is trying to become a minority owner of the Raiders, and because of that, cannot go in the other 31 teams' locker rooms to discuss things like, how we got to this point in this week and the predictions for the week and all sorts of stuff. Can't do it. So now, with that being said, when it comes to a prediction, when it comes to the Cowboys, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, when it comes to the second being in attendance, I know that you want to throw your shade on the Cowboys, and I know that I want to as well, especially for Jarrell. But I promise you can give me a drug test afterwards, but I still have the Cowboys winning this game in Cleveland.
They just pissed me off, though. They got the talent to actually take this game, but they just pissed me off.
They do. It's the same way for me too. But when I think about it, no team generates more week one overreactions than the Dallas Cowboys.
You 100% right there.
And this game will not be an exception. The Browns made the playoffs last season, and they were 8-1 at home. Deshaun Watson is just as much on the line from the perception standpoint as Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb ended his holdout, and that could impact the line leading up to kickoff.
Which is
this
true.
Is a game we could probably stay away from otherwise, but pressed for a pick, I'll take a small upset and go with the Cowboys winning on the road over the Browns.
I don't find it to be wrong. It's just, the Cowboys just upset me in terms of how they operate game to game. They should easily win. I don't mean a rout, but I mean they have the talent to win this game. They do. They have the talent to win this game.
It would just be nice if we could see them lose and get to play this next week.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation.
One of my favorite transitions of all time.
Thank you, sir.
And the Cowboys wish they had half the talent of Cole Johnson.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, to our next game, one that I don't want to pick, but I have to. I don't want to pick this one, but we have to talk about the Washington Commanders traveling to Tampa Bay, take on the Buccaneers Sunday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern time. Go easy, go light. There, Cole. Who wins and why?
I actually have to say I think this is probably the perfect test for Jaden Daniels. I think if he needed to have an opponent, a first opponent ever to actually go up against, this will be the right opponent, and it's on the road too. So I think he'll get an understanding as to where he's going to be and where he's going to stand and how much more he needs to tweak going forward. Obviously they gotta lean on the running game a little bit. I hope they don't lean on Daniels running the ball a lot in the process. But I still shake my head defensively of what the Commanders can do, and all the Buccaneers really have to do is just not turn the ball over. If Mayfield can just simply be Mayfield and he just gets the ball in the playmaker's hands and they do not turn the ball over, this should easily be a victory for the Buccaneers. But I think, unfortunately, and I know this really sucks because I know how this feels because I was in your shoes last year. This might have to be one of those moral victory type of games for you where it's like, okay, how did Jaden Daniels look? We didn't get the L. Oh, so we got the L. How did he look? And I think it's going to be like that. Right? So how's the team look? Okay, the team might not be all that great. How did Jaden look?
I like it. You went pretty easy on my team there. I like it. Now, with this being a battle of two former Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks between Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels, there's going to be hype on this game. Washington has emerged as a playoff popular sleeper, which Tampa Bay lived out in real life last year.
That's true.
Mayfield did not have a great home split last season with an 88.2 rating, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. That's a bit of a red flag, but I think I'll stick with the home team in this one, which will force a few rookie mistakes from Daniels. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they start the season off like the RG3 campaign in 2012. I think it would be absolutely amazing to see something resemble something as close, if not better, than that, if it's possible.
I remember that.
However, the weapons that the Commanders, then known as the REDSKINS, had at that time were considerably different at that point. I mean, yes, you have scary Terry McLaurin, but you still had a pretty solid running game, which has still been very questionable over the years. And especially when you consider your star running back, who's not that old, just got shot not too long ago and has still been bouncing back from it. I mean, it hasn't slowed him down but so much, but I feel like, Austin Eckler's a little bit behind his prime here at this point. He's a little bit behind the 8 ball. I hope he proves me wrong. I really do, and I hope they come out here swinging and beat the Bucs at home. But I'm going to side with you on this, and I think the rookie mistakes are going to catch up to Jaden Daniels in this game, and the Buccaneers are going to win somewhere around probably 27-18. It's going to be a little lopsided and score towards the end, but it's only going to be based on what we see in the fourth quarter. I think the Commanders keep up with them through 3 to 3.5 potential quarters. By the time we get into the fourth quarter, Tampa Bay is going to start to run away with it in certain aspects, and the young players of the Commanders and that inexperience in the NFL is going to get exposed in this game, which is why I'm going with Tampa Bay at home.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
Now, 2 more games left, and we have to start with the Sunday 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time contest as the Los Angeles Rams travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. Who wins this game, Cole? Do the Lions continue to bite off kneecaps and engulf the Rams in this home contest?
Well, I know the Lions fans are going to win, at least in the beginning, because I know they're going to boo Matthew Stafford out the building again. I mean, they were in rare form 8 months ago. I think they're going to do the same thing Sunday.
Facts.
As far as the game is concerned, here's what I'm finding funny about this, man. It's like everybody and their mama is starting to really like the Rams. I'm not saying the Rams are horrible, but I've been hearing talks of them elevated over the Lions, and I'm not saying this game. I mean over the year, and I'm thinking to myself, did you not just see that team last year put it together, and then the year before they won 8 out of the last 10? This is not a 1-year rental. I mean, this is an NFC contender. I mean, NFC championship contender. And if it weren't for a couple of stupid mistakes, they would have been the NFC representative in the Super Bowl this past February. So I'm not going to dismiss the Lions. I'm not going to dismiss them at all. But man, this is going to be one great game. I think we're going to see a continuation of what we saw in the playoffs, where it was both teams evenly matched, and it depended on what side was going to win in the last possession, which in the wild card game they played in Detroit last January, it was the defense that came up with that one play they necessarily needed to come up with late to keep the Rams out the end zone, and they won it. I think we're going to see a similar type of game, and I think we'll see a similar type of result. I really am high on the Lions because I think they're stacked on both sides of the ball, and I think they're focused. So I'm going to take the Lions, but it's going to be a really good game Sunday night.
I'm with you on that. The Lions are a trendy Super Bowl pick yet again, and the novelty of facing Matthew Stafford has worn off. How will the Rams' interior defense hold up, though, without Aaron Donald, who retired this offseason?
There you go.
The Lions will test that early, and the running game will be a difference in the fourth quarter. Campbell elects for field goals to put the game away late, and somebody that we talked about a lot during the UFL season, Jake Bates, is on that team as the kicker now and is on the mark. Detroit was 6-4 at home last year. And with that being said, even though they won more games than they lost, I'm going to have to go with Detroit Lions in this game as well. Winning this matchup, like you said, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 27-24 Lions, and they get it based on the leg of Bates.
Mm-hmm.
So we shall see how things pan out. Both of us agree. Lions take this game at home.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
And now, we've talked about all the Sunday games. It is time to go to Monday. Talk about a team that looked like absolute dumpster Pelican-worthy displays of production last year when we talk about the New York Jets traveling to San Francisco to take on the fair-weathered fans' favorite team themselves, the 49ers. Wow. Who wins this game in San Francisco and why?
Wow. How could you say that about them? I have no idea where you could get that such inspiration. So we're talking about the defending NFC champs. They are having to defend home turf against a team that last year everybody wanted to. Well, no, everybody in New York wanted to actually head to the Super Bowl, but 4 plays later, found out that that was not going to happen. Now you have Aaron Rodgers healing from that debilitating Achilles tear, playing in his first game since then. And yeah, he was available to play long before now, but he got a chance to be off it for 365 days. Sorry about that. So now we get a chance to test that thing out. And I would be sending the house early just to test that Achilles out. That's what I would do if I were the 49ers. I would test him early, test his mobility early to see where he is with it. I mean, you don't necessarily tattoo him, but I want to just test that mobility, test to see if he can maneuver. In terms of the X's and O's, basically Aaron Rodgers is the offensive coordinator. I don't care who they say is the offensive coordinator. I know who it is, but it doesn't really matter. It's Aaron Rodgers. That's the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. And so it's going to be a battle between him and the 49ers defense, and that's who's going to win this game. Who comes out from those two? And dare say, I think the 49ers just have a little bit too much in the pass rushing realm, because I'm not sold on that Jets offensive line. That's going to it's going to topple over what the Jets offensively can execute against them. Now we can say, well, yeah, the 49ers, they have Purdy and Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and McCaffrey. They got all the tools, and they got all the tools offensively. To me, it is the Jets offense versus the 49ers defense. That's where the game's won and lost. And I don't see the Jets overcoming what the 49ers defensively can bring.
You bring up some really great points with that. And when looking at this right here, it's very, very tough to pick against the 49ers when you think about where they went last year.
Right.
In the Super Bowl. And you bring up a lot of great points with the Jets and how their season was, shook upside down from the moment 4 plays into last season.
Right.
I do think it's going to be a close game. And the reason why I think it's going to be close is because you have the Trent Williams holdout situation. Even though he was re-signed a few days ago, you have Brandon Ayuk in the situation with that. He's going to have a little rust, whether people like it or not. Ricky Pearsall shot, not playing this game. T.O.'s son, don't think he would have been a factor, but that's another wide receiver option that you don't have because he is hurt. Right. You also got Christian McCaffrey with the calf, who's been dealing with that injury for some time. And even if he does play, he might have some limited type of snaps or limited role in the game because they want to have him for the other 16 games after this first one as well. So they might be playing things a little bit limited in this first game, and the Jets might be able to take advantage of that on the offensive side to actually keep the game close, to keep it to when it's within a 3 to 4 point swing. Now, I think that the experience of the 49ers being a better team over the past half decade, and then you could even argue the time before that when they had Jim Harbaugh before the whole debacle of the nameless man who came from the Eagles to be the head coach. I will say his name, Chip Kelly. In between those two head coaching times between Jim Harbaugh and now with what you have with Kyle Shanahan. But with all that being said, the 49ers have still, despite Mr. Kelly's tenure in there, have been fairly successful within the past decade, as to where the other team, the Jets, have been absolutely abysmal since butt fumble happened over a decade ago. So with
literally,
with that being said, unless the Jets come out here and light it up on offense, because we already know their defense is suspect based on what you said, and there's been several reports of Aaron Rodgers still continuing to be a selfish expletive in the locker room. With all that being said, I'm going with the 49ers in this game. I think they'll win it about 21-18. That's going to be my prediction for this. And that's how I see it going down. I agree with you on this one. Jets lose 21-18.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
And now it is time that we take this unit on into the post game.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one.
I went to go find one yesterday, but I wasn't able to look at tomorrow right away.
Oh, that's great.
So,
I love it.
actually, I was getting to
I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
And now it's time to take it to the post game with our final thoughts on this episode. And with that, we'll take it to Cole.
You know, it's funny. I'm hearing a song that you normally hear around December, but it fits here. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And it is. It most certainly is. Look, I love my birthday. I love celebrating other things that are in between mid-February and now. But when it comes to this time of year, in entertainment aspects of what I'm looking forward to seeing, this is the time. And there isn't anything that is more attractive to me than an NFL season. I can think long and hard, but I would be extremely disappointed. This is the time. This is the time of year that I always look forward to. And I do sometimes in my head go to, man, how's the season going to be when we get into Thanksgiving, when we see the game in Detroit and Dallas and the third game that they play? How is it going to be? You know, how's December going to be? How's the players going to be in January? I actually do go into my head and I think about those scenarios because I'm just that excited and that geeked. But it also is the time where many of us who are married, we have to scratch the note and write to the wife and say the following. And that would be, quote, "Dear wifey, you are so wonderful. You are one of the greatest things in life, period. You are the greatest thing in my life. And the last 7 months, the last 6.5 months, you have put up with my to and froth ways. You have put up with me being to and fro with a lot of different issues. You have been with me when I have entertained so many different things that you want and you're about. But now it's my turn. So starting Thursday and going all the way until the second Sunday in February, you, my dear, will become a football widow. Yes, it's unfortunate, but yeah, you'll have to unfortunately sort of take a backseat to football, but I guarantee you, now I'm seasoned. I won't put you second to football every day of the week in the season. I will even sacrifice watching a lot of college football for you, babe. I will do everything possible to spend whatever time is necessary, to sacrifice whatever I need, to do anything humanly possible to where your love tank is full, so that when kickoff comes at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, I could just kick back, relax from September to February and be as happy as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that means that you'll have to deal with me actually listening to it when we're on road trips. I know that means that you want to probably do something and have that itch to want to watch that wonderful movie on Sunday. But no, I actually want to see CJ Stroud light up the Cowboys, or I want to witness Lamar Jackson run all over the Bengals, or I actually even find Bryce Young being in front of 300-pound turnstiles being more enthralling than seeing anything on HSN. So I'm sorry, dear. You will now become a football widow from Thursday until mid-February, but I still love you. I still appreciate you. And thank you for allowing me to be a glow in what makes me happiest. Signed, a football fanatic.
And for your representation of all football fanatics who are not single, you did a great job with that.
Thank you.
And before I give my take, speaking of great takes, we have to give a shout out to the one and only as he says, good afternoon to the TFT tribe. Bow down to the big game hunter of dumpster pelicans worldwide, Sensei Drew Willingham, and the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. How are you guys doing?
It's good to see you, Vic. I'm glad you're here, brother.
I'm doing great because you dropped a dime in the chat, and for the first time in our 3-hour show today, I got to say it with the intensity that I wanted to say with the EPs. It is back. It is back, and it is alive. And to the rest of you in the chat who have been dropping dimes,
thank you, guys.
Also, I want to say thank you to Vic Allah, like Cole just did. I concur on that. But also, I want to say this to all of you.
What's that? What's that?
As it's now time for my take when it comes to the post game. First of all, I share Cole's sentiments. If I was not single at the current time, ladies, hit me up. Now back to this. When it comes to this right here and now, Cole, love that. Happy Labor Day to everybody as well. To those of you listening to this on WQEE 99.1 FM on Tuesdays, as well as Real Wise Radio, thank you all for tuning in to this as well on the audio version, as well as on Fridays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM. We really appreciate you guys, the growth, moving into the audio platforms and, expanding our reach is a big part of our goals that we have for 2024, as well as the growth that we saw this project going into. And I feel like, now with our 1-year anniversary episode that we are at today, we have achieved those goals, and there's definitely more that we would like to hit for the remainder of 2024 and going into 2025. That, once we get more time, now that both Cole and I's schedules are starting to calm down a little bit, that we'll have more time to discuss these things and our ideas and put them both together. And Cole has absolutely been crushing it with the transitions, the intros, the outros, the commercials. I mean, we have a new commercial that he uploaded today that will definitely get worked into the rotation, starting for next week. I'll put that in my plate to reorganize those commercials for him. And, coming up soon, we'll be switching back roles too, and Cole will be your lead, host, talking into it and writing these things out. And, as we close this out in what could potentially be, I wouldn't say the last, but could potentially be the last show that I write for quite some time. It has been an honor, joy, and privilege to have the opportunity to do that and to make my guy happy, to be able to do that and keep the show going in the way we both saw fit from the day that we started this together a year ago. And I think that it's very uplifting to me, knowing that I could do something on a similar level as my guy here when it comes to the writing and the production standpoint of that. I still have a ways to go to get to him on the video production level. When it comes to creativity and the energy put behind it, I think he would agree that there's not many that can match him on that part. But there's still some things within the actual performance of putting things together that I will even acknowledge that I need to improve on. But the one thing that goes against me is the time, is the available time having to do it with the moving parts that I have going on in my life. But I am just grateful, and it is a very honored feeling that I have to be able to share the limited time that I have on screen with him, and to be able to give what I can to this project. And even if it was next week or many other weeks that I'd have to do the same thing that I've done for the past 6 months, I'd do it all over again, to keep this going, because this has been a fun platform for not only myself and Cole, but the guests we've been able to incorporate in here. And, in time, once we, continue to develop into the current NFL season, we'll find a way to get some more guests back on here. We got Total Football Talk Extra, popping off this Friday. We'll see how we can get some guests incorporated with that. And although it'll be primarily talking about things outside of NFL, we might be able to incorporate a recap from the night, prior's game, while still covering it on the main show on Mondays when the two of us get back together. But these are a bunch of ideas I've got running through my head that I look forward to talking to Cole about off air, and, getting that more developed as well. But if it wasn't for this show right here, Total Football Talk, we wouldn't have the spinoff Total Football Talk Extra. We wouldn't have all these episodes that we've done within a year. And I wanted to take my time here just to pay homage to the viewer, the fan of the sport. And not only that, but one of my guys here that I love absolutely doing this with out here in these streams, that I would not and still don't want to do this main project of ours with anybody else but him, which is why I've been willing to move other things around to still keep this an every week thing, because it means so much to me. And I know it means a lot to Cole as well. So thank you to my man Cole here, as I bring him back up on screen for all of that. Thank you, viewer, to the fans of the show, whether you're watching this live, syndicated, or listening to this on any of the other audio platforms, and to the other things that we expand this into, that we look forward to talking about when we recap year 2 a year from now, hopefully. So all that being said, man, there's only one more thing we have to do. It's time for you to send us home, brother.
All right. Well, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I think you all know where to find Drew and me, but I still think back at the conversation that we had back in August of last year, where we both had this itch to want to do a comprehensive football program. And it was funny that we both had that similar itch at the same time. And then we're like, well, heck, why don't we actually create the platform and do it? And here it is. And in our 1 year anniversary, I'm reflecting on that. And if I were to put a number one moment on anything, it would be the fact that I get a chance to share this platform with you, and I wouldn't do it with anybody else. I mean, with the professionalism, with the knowledge of football that you have, and the passion that you bring with any project, let alone this one, it makes it fun. there's things that I have dealt with in terms of how things have been outside of this that makes me say, I don't know if I have the energy for it. I don't know if I have the compunction for it. I don't know if I actually will bring the self that I need to bring to make my partner understand that everything is straight and everything is all right. Because I did promise him that all he has to do is just show up and just have fun. And hopefully I've done that. And thank you for actually having this be probably the most diverse show that I've ever participated on, because it is rare that I've actually gotten a chance to be on this side and just be a co-host where I don't really have to plan anything. But yes, I'm going to retake the reins. So I do not take that for granted. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, brother. And one thing I'll add to that before we get into the transition is it's a cool feeling, when we first started and that was presented to me and I was able to show up and talk. And now for the last, 5-6 months, however long as it's been, it's also just as cool and a rewarding feeling to be able to give that back to you. Because like you said, being able to show up and talk and have that freedom. And, with us and the way we communicate, as long as we communicated early enough, which we have been, for the most part, to where, like, say you take over the reins, a month goes by and then you let me know like midweek, like, hey, I might need you to write this for next week. As long as we have enough advance, we can always swap back and forth and give each other a break, here and there. That's what's the coolest part to this, is to where there is no other project that I have out of the other 3 main projects that I can do that with. And I don't, and I believe that you would say the same for all of your projects as well. And it's really a truly joyous feeling, and something which makes this even more special. And it's cool to be able to work on all elements of the production part and still be able to participate in it. So I take my hat off to you as much as you take it off to me, brother. And that's what makes this even more special and gives us the longevity that we've had throughout the past 52 weeks, now 53.
Yeah, I agree. So with that being said, happy anniversary, brother. I'm glad that we have done this for 1 full year, and that it looks like it's going to be many more that's going to be coming. Yes, to from my lips to God's ears, for sure. No question about that. Now, if you want to find my brother Drew, all you have to do is go on to the many social media platforms. Sertoba_media on Instagram, Sertoba_media on X, _Sertoba on TikTok, and of course Sertoba Media on YouTube. And if you want to find yours truly, all you have to do is go on to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That's flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. Well, that does it for yet another episode of Mentality. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. TFT Tribe, thank you for commenting. We totally appreciate all the comments. And thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch all content that comes from the Sertoba Media YouTube channel and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel. Well, for Drew Willingham and Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do, enjoy your Labor Day today. And in life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And as always, you got to play until the whistle blows.
Most importantly, stay safe out here in these streets.
100.
In the words of Ed Bassmaster, would you just look at it? Would you just look at his face? The second collating to the side, as you can see, 1/3 of his face to the right. As we leave this on this note, would you just look at it? Thank you for celebrating the 1-year anniversary special with us. We'll see you all next week.